Story 1.
After I cheated, my husband's revenge prank escalated, spiraling our marriage into tragic ruin. Approaching April's tea, I eagerly awaited a prank from my husband, Lester. Over the years, our history as pranksters had seen an annual increase in the severity of our jokes. The streak of mischief began with me one warm day when Les and I went out. Despite wearing a buttoned-up jacket, I claimed to feel a chill as we strolled through the mall. Suddenly, I removed my jacket to reveal a t-shirt with the words, "I am with stupid," complete with an arrow pointing sideways. Standing right next to me, he couldn't initially discern what was on my t-shirt, only noticing the amused reactions of passers-by. It took him a while to realize that every time I shifted position, it was to ensure the arrow on my t-shirt was pointing at him. His face turned crimson, and thus commenced our official prank war. Then came the year when I received an official-looking email, supposedly from the local health department, claiming I had been listed as a lovemaking contact of an Anthony Sanders and instructing me to undergo immediate testing. What I hadn't anticipated was the CC line, including everyone in my office suggesting they had received the same alarming message. Most of them knew Anthony as an old college boyfriend, oblivious to the fact that I hadn't seen him in over a year, let alone been involved. Lovingly, Lester, you got me good. Last year, I edited a photo, replacing my husband's average-sized member with a comically tiny one, and sent it around his office. Truth be told, he's actually above average in that department. He was furious, spending 2 nights away before even considering coming home. No matter how much I apologized, I ended up resorting to an offer of 3 specific favors just to coax him back 3 bed acts he couldn't refuse. Once home and appeased, he claimed our pranks had spiraled out of control, vowing never to retaliate or prank me again. His promise seemed sincere, but I didn't buy it. I could almost see the gears turning in his head, plotting his revenge. I was certain this year would showcase the darkest corners of his devious mind. I waited, a mix of anticipation and dread. I went to extreme eavesdropping on his calls, planting a recorder in his car, even scrutinizing our finances for anything suspicious. I was determined not to fall for his prank this time. Yet, my snooping turned up nothing incriminating. He was far cleverer than I had given him credit for. As March passed, Lester appeared unchanged at home while I scrutinized his every move. From midnight on March 16th, I was on high alert, but nothing occurred right after midnight, leaving me on edge. There were still hours for him to spring his plan. I swore to be prepared for whatever he had up his sleeve. The following morning, April set, when I descended to the kitchen, he casually offered to whip up breakfast, a rare gesture that immediately raised a red flag. There was no chance I'd consume anything he prepared. I claimed I was in the mood for just cereal that morning. While pouring myself a bowl and adding milk, I discreetly sniffed it, on the lookout for any added substances. Nothing. A tentative taste confirmed its normality. I stubbornly skipped the coffee, citing a reduction in my caffeine intake. Truthfully, I avoided it because he made it. I observed him preparing his beloved ham, egg, and cheese English muffin, almost tempted to ask for one despite the risk. Post-breakfast, we both got ready for work. Amidst checking my toothpaste for tampering and ensuring my cologne retained its usual fragrance and a skunk odor, everything appeared normal, except for my sore anxiety. I inspected my car for any suspicious devices, wishing for one of those border-crossing mirrors on a stick to scrutinize beneath it. All seemed regular, yet my heart drummed loudly when I started the engine, testing the brakes unnecessarily. I scolded myself Lester wouldn't resort to anything physically damaging. I repeated that to reassure myself, but doubt lingered. He was seriously upset about my last prank. At work, my enthusiastic best friend, Marta, eagerly greeted me and expressed her curiosity about Lester's antics the previous night. I had confided in Marta about my concerns regarding Lester's impending April Fool's trick, recalling her support for my prank from the previous year. She jokingly requested an unaltered version of the photo, or even better, a private viewing in our bedroom. I noted her eagerness for some excitement in her life. I shared with Marta that Lester had been relatively quiet, but I was convinced he was plotting something. I could sense it in the air at night. Marta playfully commented on her love for slipping song lyrics into conversations, prompting a chuckle from me. I believe he's prolonging my suspense just to push me over the edge. Well, he doesn't have far to go right now, but mark my words, whatever he pulls, I won't fall for it. He may be the prince of pranks, but I am the queen of jokes. We laughed, and then I finally indulged in my much-delayed morning coffee. I checked my desk for unexpected surprises and went about my work relatively normally, though occasional thoughts of what might await me later lingered. The first time my desk phone rang, I practically leaped out of my chair, chuckling at my own heightened nerves. Nothing out of the ordinary happened for the rest of the day. I half expected a delivery of risque items that would accidentally be revealed in front of my colleagues, but thankfully, nothing of the sort occurred. As the workday's end neared, my anxiety skyrocketed. I hit the road, nearly missing the red light as my mind fixated on what awaited me at home. I gave myself a light slap to refocus on driving safely. Upon arriving home, I started preparing dinner. Lester arrived at his usual time, appearing completely drained. I suspected it was an act, anticipating more theatrics. From him soon. I asked if he had a tough day, dealing with too many graduates struggling with basic math. Lester responded that my remark hit too close to home to be funny. He explained that his mood wasn't due to a challenging day, but rather an exasperating one. The quarterly report deadline had kept him occupied with mundane details and figure cross-checking usually done before lunch. Today's struggle to reconcile two totals that were supposed to match took an extra 4 hours. He even missed lunch and considered calling to say he'd be late for dinner. Fortunately, he caught the error, wrapped up the report before clocking out, and expressed being absolutely famished. He hoped dinner was on its way within 20 minutes. I suggested he fix himself a drink while I finished up, to which he responded positively, appreciating the idea. Lester leaned in, planting a kiss on my cheek before heading to the cupboard where we stored the liquor. He grabbed the bourbon and mixed himself a drink before settling in the living room, tuning in to reruns of Swamp People. It was comical to think he'd ever venture into a place teeming with mosquitoes, alligators, and snakes. I suspected he had a soft spot for people with Cajun accents. During dinner, I attempted to strike up a conversation, but my focus was primarily on uncovering the impending prank. Eventually, I probed, asking if Lester had anything planned for the night. He responded, stating that he had nothing planned. After the debacle with the quarterly report, he emphasized that he didn't even consider bringing work home and expressed his desire to unwind with me by his side. Playfully teasing, he mentioned that since his favorite girl wasn't there, I would have to do. I nudged him in response. After dinner, as I filled the dishwasher with the dishes, I suggested watching a movie and snacking on some popcorn. Lester showed interest, and after preparing the popcorn in the microwave, I brought it in a big bowl to the living room, along with our usual drinks to relax. I asked Lester what he wanted to watch, mentioning that while I typically preferred movies with closeness and roughness, I was open to his choice for the night. I suggested Roadhouse, noting its blend of romance, nudity, and violence, to mention Patrick Swayze's physique. Lester chuckled in response. Sounds good to me. I haven't seen that in a while. I love the part when the stuffed polar bear falls on the thug. Was it a polar bear or a regular bear? I thought it was a polar bear, but we can see. We were watching the movie and eating popcorn. I had a couple of rum and cokes to Lester's bourbons, and at last I was finally beginning to relax and let down my guard. Suddenly, the doorbell rang and my internal alarm went off. This is it, I told myself immediately. No one comes to our house unannounced after dark. I immediately put my mind on DEFCON alert status and was ready to spoil whatever dirty trick he had devised. Lester, of course, vehemently denied knowing who it might be. Yeah, right. I went to the door and opened it up. I was surprised to see there was a guy, not just an average man, but a huge biker guy at the door. 2 others were on their bikes in the driveway. I shook my head in disbelief. I thought, Lester, this is going to be good. I greeted the scarred, tattooed biker with a knowing smile, expressing my awareness of the situation. He apologized for disturbing me and asked if this was where the party was. Responding affirmatively, I slung my arm around his waist, leading him to the center of the living room, noticing his firm abs and bulging biceps. My husband, seeing me with this stranger, leaped off the couch, bewildered. He questioned who the stranger was, and I played along, stating that he was here to fulfill my fantasy. My husband realized it was an April Fool's joke and expressed his initial confusion. I acknowledged the prank and continued with the act, telling the stranger, whom my husband referred to as Paul, that his prank was over and he could leave. The stranger, calling himself the Bandit, insisted on staying, and I affirmed that I wanted him to stay. I turned to the Bandit, planting an exaggerated kiss on him, much to my husband's dismay. Lester rushed over, and the Bandit grabbed him by the throat, making him stumble and choke. Chuckling, the Bandit pulled me close, caressing my backside while kissing me. I reciprocated, sensing his arousal. Lester charged again, and the Bandit knocked him down with a single punch. Addressing me, the Bandit asked if he should handle Lester or if he should stay and watch. I chose to let Lester watch, stating that it would teach him not to mess with me. The Bandit agreed and stepped outside to inform the others. Inside, one of the men scanned the room and questioned what was happening, noting that it didn't resemble a party. I explained that the lady referring to myself wanted to be involved with bikers before heading to the actual party. Commenting on my assets, they discussed their plans, with one expressing the intention to take my rear first. They noticed Lester on the floor and learned he was my husband, whom I wanted to watch. I suggested tying him to a chair and taping his mouth, offering the materials from the garage. Lester protested, declaring that regardless of the situation being a joke or not, it marked the end of our marriage. I responded, accusing him of setting it up and now being upset because I wasn't playing along as he intended. As Lester lunged again, the bikers subdued him and convincingly pinned him to the chair. I wondered if their coordination was rehearsed. The bikers inquired about getting the party started and asked about drinks. I directed them to the liquor cabinet and the fridge for a couple of beers. The bandit turned to me, asking how I wanted to start and how far Lester had suggested they go. I responded, asking the bandit about Lester's instructions, and he looked puzzled. He mentioned I could go all the way however I wanted. In a referenced version, he did it right. If we're going through with this, I could use some help setting the mood. Got anything stronger than liquor? Absolutely, I always carry something. He fetched something intriguing from his bike. A sip later, I found myself swapping kisses with all three of them, smirking at Lester, who seemed to struggle to break free. Approaching me, the bandit declared, "Time to dance, darling," tearing off my dress and swiftly losing my underwear. Soon he was bare, as were his companions. Panic started to grip me. I hadn't anticipated Lester would allow things to escalate like this. I shouted to Lester, "Consider this a lesson if you try to outsmart me." Engaging with his friend, I sensed his imminent climax and attempted to pull away. "Too bad your pleasure isn't our concern. Your job is to satisfy us," they retorted. The following hour felt unreal, despite my objections and resistance in the midst of this chaotic group. At the end of it all, anger boiled within me towards Lester for orchestrating this and then allowing these men to subject me to such things. Each time I glanced at Lester in the chair, rage surged, yet I masked my distress. I wanted him to believe I relished it, but I couldn't let him think his prank succeeded. After a couple of hours, the bikers departed. My movements were labored, but I managed to reach the kitchen and grab a sharp knife. When I went to release Lester, I discovered his wrists and ankles were injured. His ankles were bleeding, the ropes having torn into his skin. That seemed to have helped him, certainly. I anticipated his explosion, maybe even a physical outburst. Once the ropes and duct tape were finally off, standing there, I glared at him, ready for his expected fury. But instead of a verbal or physical reaction, he looked at me with silent rage, shoved me aside, and ascended the stairs. I retreated to the downstairs bathroom to cleanse the remnants of the bikers from my skin, noticing numerous hickeys scattered across various parts of my body. I remained in the bathroom when the front door slammed shut. Moments later, the screech of Lester's car signaled his departure. I assumed he'd sulk in a motel, a pattern had shown before. I silently celebrated my victory in the annual April Fool's prank and retired to bed. Saturday morning arrived and my phone buzzed incessantly. It was Marta, asking me to spill the details about what Lester had done. I responded, saying he wouldn't believe it, and suggested meeting for lunch at Friday's. Marta agreed, urging me not to tease. At Thank God It's Friday we indulged in our meal, and I recounted the actual biker encounter that was meant to be a sham, along with Lester's furious reaction. Marta expressed disbelief that I was involved in that, especially considering Lester had set me up for it. Playfully, switching to a terrible southern accent, she pretended to swoon, and I chuckled. I explained how Lester had tried to deceive me with a prank involving facing a biker, only to shout April Fools afterward. I shared that I had outplayed his prank by turning it into a real event. Although I hadn't planned to go that far, it worked in a strange way. I doubted Lester would ever try something like that again. Marta questioned whether I was positive Lester had set it up, expressing disbelief that he would orchestrate something so extreme. The possibility of a messy divorce was raised, and there was a suggestion to get rid of any video, with a cheeky request for a copy. While I dismissed Marta's last remark, her earlier words triggered a troubling thought. What if it wasn't a setup? The idea of a potential divorce weighed heavily on me, a dire possibility I was hesitant to consider. It felt like I might have shattered my marriage. But swiftly, I pushed the thought away, convinced it had to be a setup. That's what I stuck to, reassuring myself and trying to believe it. Then, a realization struck me, prompting a question about the last time a biker showed up at my door looking for a party. I wished it were true, and Marta acknowledged the possibility that I was right. The focus shifted to Lester's whereabouts, speculating that he might be sulking in some motel, furious that I had outplayed his prank. Just then, my phone buzzed, and I told Marta to hold on, thinking it might be Lester. However, disappointment washed over me as I realized it wasn't him, but an unfamiliar number. Upon answering the call, a voice I didn't recognize asked if I was Carrie Lynch. Inwardly groaning, I assumed it was a telemarketer and preemptively declined any offers. When the caller identified themselves as the police and mentioned injuries sustained by my husband, I dismissed it as another part of Lester's failed prank. Despite the assurance from the caller, claiming to be a detective named Fredericks, that they had checked my house and spoken to Lester, I doubted the legitimacy of the situation. Refusing to play along, I told the supposed detective that I would be home in an hour or whenever I pleased. If he wanted to talk, he could come by later. I ended the call abruptly. Marta expressed concern about the police calling me and suggested I should go see Lester. I shared my skepticism, unsure if the caller was genuinely a detective or just another one of Lester's ploys. Convinced that Lester was taking the joke too far, I expressed a desire not to dwell on it and proposed getting dessert, specifically craving chocolate. I arrived home post-lunch to find Lester absent, which wasn't unexpected. Just as I started to remove my jacket and hang it up, the doorbell interrupted. Letting out a heavy sigh, I made my way to the door. A female police officer and a man who seemed to be a detective stood there, flashing badges and requesting entry. The shock hitmate was real, entirely unlike what I had anticipated. Doubts crept in. Perhaps they weren't really law enforcement. I asked to see their identification. They presented badges, ID cards, driver's licenses, and business cards. Everything checked out. Apologizing for my initial skepticism, I welcomed them in. That's when I remembered I hadn't tidied up from the previous night. The living room remained untouched since I'd gone to bed, displaying empty beer and liquor bottles, stains on the couch and rug, and, of course, the chair. The detective focused on the chair where Lester had been bound, noting the cut ropes, used duct tape, and bloodstains. I hadn't realized there was so much blood. The detective asked if this was where my husband was tied up, and I confirmed, adding that it was a bit more complicated. When asked about the complexity, I explained that my husband had orchestrated an ill-conceived April Fool's joke to make me think a biker gang would attack me. I turned the tables on him, making him believe I wanted something that made him uncomfortable. He got angry and stormed off when I freed him. When questioned about who initially tied him up, I mentioned a biker named Bandit and a couple of others. The detective shared that they had already spoken to Bandit, who was cooperating for a more lenient sentence. According to Bandit, I had invited them for a party, requested medications, and engaged in consensual activities. He alleged that I instructed him to tie up my husband to watch the event, claiming it was our shared interest. The detective needed to know if this was true or if they should pursue exploitation charges against Bandit as well. I attempted to explain that I had tried to stop it, but my efforts were in vain. I was trying to teach my husband a lesson in response to the mess he created, and I just went along with it. I hoped the detective could understand. Tears interrupted my words, and I paused before asking about Lester's condition and whether he was still at the ER. The detective explained that Lester was more angry than anything else. His wrists and ankles were bandaged and sore, as expected. Lester had been discharged after a couple of hours but came to the police station to press charges. The doctor anticipated a physical recovery, expressing relief that Lester wasn't seriously hurt. I acknowledged that it was his fault, and I didn't want to be made a fool of. The detective commented that I handled it effectively, but reminded me that they were not the judge of fault. Judges and juries would determine that soon. Suddenly, the detective stated that they were arresting me for assault and wrongful confinement of my husband. Additionally, they advised me to get checked for an STD, as one of the bikers I was with had a severe and persistent STD. The detective informed me of my right to an attorney. In a plea for understanding, I explained that it was meant to be a prank on me, and I retaliated. I protested against the arrest, arguing that it was Lester's fault, but the detective insisted that I should tell that to the judge. Subsequently, I found myself in jail, attempting to post bail. However, I discovered that my cards had been canceled. Despite the humiliation, I called my father and fabricated a story until he revealed that Lester had already contacted him. My father, who was close to Lester, berated me for minutes while I sobbed. Eventually, he agreed to bail me out and take me home. Upon arriving home, I sent a text to Lester pleading for a discussion to clarify things. His reply was cold. "Everything is clear to me. My response is coming soon." I hoped for a face-to-face or at least a call. Instead, I received divorce papers citing physical exploitation and emotional torment. I cried once more. I had allowed a foolish prank to ruin my marriage, an impractical joke to say the least. The trial progressed swiftly. Bandit took the stand as the primary witness. His testimony detailed arriving at the wrong address, being invited by me and others to a party, tying up my husband at my behest, and engaging in consensual relations with me. In exchange for testifying against me, he received a minor sentence for the confinement charge. However, it was my husband's testimony that cut the deepest. He admitted to our history of pranks, but insisted he had vowed never to deceive me again, as he believed I trusted him. The events of that night shook him to the core, shocking him to an unfathomable degree. Under oath, Lester denied any prior contact with Bandit, any consent to a pretend or real foursome involving his wife, and declared that his love and respect for me vanished that night. Displaying the scars on his wrists and ankles, he mentioned they were a lasting reminder of why he could never trust me again. His admission that he might struggle to trust any woman caused tears even among some female jurors. My case crumbled when it was my turn to testify. Tearfully narrating my version, I sensed the jury's disapproval, especially from the female members I had hoped to sway. Guilt weighed on me, evident to all, and unsurprisingly, the verdict was guilty. I received a 2-year sentence of leniency that could have been harsher. Back in county jail, I awaited transfer to prison when space became available. The final divorce papers arrived during my incarceration, but I barely acknowledged the settlement. One day, Lester visited, and I was puzzled by his presence. He sarcastically remarked that prison suits me. I acknowledged that I deserved the sarcasm and expressed regret for what I did to him, even if he didn't orchestrate it. Lester responded, stating it was too little too late, and that he still believed I had set him up. He presented a hypothetical scenario, suggesting a twisted motive on his part to orchestrate a divorce with the best terms a slicker than 50-50th split. He detailed a cunning plan involving squirreling away cash, bribing bikers, deceiving cops, and taking a minor sentence. He mentioned the need for ties to a gang, hinting at someone at work, whose brother needed his approval for a promotion. Lester expressed his shock when I took the situation to a level he hadn't anticipated. He claimed that seeing me enjoy it crushed him. Despite feeling torn between wanting to end both of us, he opted to put me behind bars, acknowledging his correctness. Lester stated that we were both fools in the mess, but I was the one behind bars. He questioned who the bigger fool was.
Story 2.
Wife cheated and got her husband locked up, then received a shocking gift box from him and screamed. The spousal support is set at $2,000 per month, and you'll continue paying the home mortgage $1,000 for child support and health insurance until your child turns 18. Plus, if your child goes to college, you'll cover those expenses too, the judge stated. That ruling would cost me over $6,500 every month, despite my wife's affairs with several lawyers in her firm. I was the one feeling screwed. I'm Kurt D'Angelo, and my ex-wife is Lily. Our daughter Regina means the world to me. She wanted me to have custody, but the judge ruled otherwise. The trial felt unjust, especially with the high monthly support given Lily's income. It seemed the judge was biased against me, but I wasn't about to take it lying down. I planned to make Lily regret crossing me. I have a knack for seizing opportunities, even if some were shady in the past. Now I'm into real estate and own various businesses, including a coin change company. My coin change business allows me to pay the $2,000 spousal support in coins, making it inconvenient for Lily. Let her deal with taking them to the bank and counting them with her lawyer buddies. Lily stayed home with Regina until she started school, then became a paralegal. She quickly climbed the ladder, catching the eye of a rising lawyer who hired her as his assistant. Looking back, I wonder if she was trading favors even then. As her career progressed, she insisted on moving to a fancier neighborhood to flaunt our success, despite my preference for our current Oak Forest home. So we bought a $900,000 house and decorated it to her taste, but I never felt at ease there. Reflecting on it now, we had different life goals. I preferred a simpler lifestyle while she wanted to show off our wealth. Now, back to the judge's ruling in our divorce. I intended to follow his instructions, though Lily wouldn't be pleased. In the following month, I made arrangements. My daughter would get her child support, but Lily wouldn't see a cent. It would go directly to Regina's account. Regina would also have good health insurance, while Lily would get a high deductible policy. After the 30 days passed, it was time for Lily's first spousal support payment. I had an armored truck deliver it to her house. Confused, she stood with a friend as bags of change were unloaded, drawing the attention of curious neighbors who watched as the change was emptied onto her floor. As the truck left, she yelled at me, but I just waved and shouted back, "Hope you enjoy your money from your lover." A man approached me on Tuesday asking if I was Kurt D'Angelo, but I stayed silent. He took a photo of me with the summons he had, and when I didn't take it, he dropped it, saying, "You've been served," and left. After he left, I picked up the summons, realizing I had court next Wednesday, giving me a week to prepare. I spent the week getting ready for court and discussing matters. Regina joined me for lunch, upset with her mom. I warned her that I might end up in jail if the judge didn't agree. On court day, we waited with my lawyer when Lily and her lawyer arrived. They taunted me. Regina tried to speak up, but the judge scolded her for interrupting. Believing accusations against me, favoring Lily, my lawyer said, "Judge, we don't know about any accusations, and none have been brought up before. I'm talking about a report from a psychiatrist I got with that info. I'm sticking to my decision, so that's settled." 4 months ago, Regina was struggling with her divorce in school, so we had her talk to a psychiatrist. Lily must have seen something in those notes that she thought would help her win with the judge. I've never done anything inappropriate with my daughter. Lily was trying to make me look like a terrible person. I was getting really upset. I couldn't believe Lily would lie like that, accusing me of something I didn't do. The judge wouldn't even listen to my side. I glared at the judge. He'd regret this. Looks like Lily's law firm was calling the shots. We'll see how they do in the end. My need for revenge was starting to show. Lily's lawyer said, "We want the court to say Kurt D'Angelo did something wrong." My lawyer was getting as mad as I was. He could see there wouldn't be any fairness today. "Your Honor, my client has done everything the divorce agreement asked. There's no reason to say he did something wrong." "Your Honor," Lily's lawyer said, "he gave her the monthly payment, but it was all in change, mostly pennies and nickels. It damaged the floor and took a lot of time to clean up." "So?" asked the judge. "It caused a mess and damage," said Lily's lawyer. My lawyer was quick to speak before the judge had a chance. "Judge, according to Section 513 of Title 31 United States Code, coins and bills are accepted as payment for all debts, including spousal support. My client has paid everything he's supposed to, including insurance, mortgage, and child support." "Your Honor," Lily's lawyer chimed in, "as of now, my client hasn't got any child support from Mr. D'Angelo." "That's true, Your Honor," my lawyer said. "But the child support money has gone directly to his daughter for whatever she needs. You can confirm with her." The judge seemed confused. He looked at Regina, who nodded in agreement. "We've got proof of payment for insurance and mortgage," my lawyer added. I glanced at Lily and her lawyer. They seemed panicked. "Your Honor," he said, "paying in change is tough for my client. Can we switch to checks in the future?" Finally, the judge got a word in. "That sounds fair." But before he could say more, my lawyer jumped in again. "Your Honor, could you answer a few questions first?" "And what would those be?" he asked. "Are the Chicago police part of the legal system here?" The judge seemed puzzled. "Yes, they are." "Then why?" my lawyer pressed. "If my client's car is impounded and he wants to get it back from the Chicago police impound, can't he pay with a check? He has to use cash or a credit card instead." The judge stumbled over his words. My lawyer kept going. "If the police, who you admit are part of Chicago's legal system, won't accept a check, why should my client have to pay future spousal support with one?" The judge, looking foolish now, got defensive. "Because this is my court, and I make the rules." I'd had it by then, so I stood and said, "You're the law here, just trying to please my wife's law firm. Were you involved with her too?" He lost it. "Mr. D'Angelo, you're in contempt of court. You're sentenced to 6 months in Cook County Jail unless you apologize and agree to whatever I say." "Who do you think you are, the king of this messed up court?" I yelled. The judge was stunned. He probably had never been talked to like that before. "Bailiff, take him away." I glanced at Lily and her lawyer. They were shocked. "Good luck getting your dirty money now, witch," I grinned. She had no idea how much her life was about to change. I got taken to holding, had to strip down, then got moved to the jail. Jail is a nicer word than what it really is. It's more like a prison. Right off the bat, 2 guards started hassling me about disrespecting the judge. I wasn't scared of being in jail. I'm 6 feet 4 inches and weigh around 255 lbs, mostly muscle. Keeping up with my rental properties kept me in shape. Plus, I had spent some time in juvie when I was younger. They processed me, then led me to the cell yard. I blocked out all the noise and commotion. My plan was to keep to myself and watch my back. As long as nobody bothered me, I'd blend in. When they served dinner that night, I grabbed my tray and went through the line. I leaned against a wall, eating while checking out the other guys trying to act tough. Then over the noise, I heard a voice I hadn't heard in years. "Tex," said a familiar voice from my delinquent days. My street buddies called me Tex. "Tex," said Randall, also known as Ringer. "What are you doing in here?" As he came closer, all eyes turned to us. I set my tray down and gave him a bro hug, right hands clasped together and my other arm around his shoulders. "Ringer, man, it's good to see you. How have you been?" "Not great, obviously, I'm in here. And you? What landed you in this mess?" Told the judge he was a jerk, basically. "That'll do it," he chuckled. "So, how long you in for?" 6 months unless I apologize to that so-and-so, so 6 months, I guess." We talked, ate, and got some stares from the other inmates. Ringer filled me in on what to expect. He promised to have my back, and I promised the same. We reminisced about the old days. After hearing all that, he asked, "What's your plan with your ex, her partners, and the judge?" Knowing me since I was young, back then, revenge was always my go-to. That's why they called me Tex. They called me Tex because of Texas. You know, like, don't mess with Texas. Anyone who did paid for it. They'd think twice before messing with me again, and they'd spread the word too. "So what went down with the judge?" he asked. I basically told him he was trash. "Damn, how'd he react?" he asked. He took my daughter away, even though she wanted to live with me, and then he practically accused me of hurting her. Damn, so what's your move? I've got some things cooking. I knew I might end up here, so I started planning weeks ago. Need any help? He offered. Maybe, not sure yet, but it's good to have a friend in here. I'll introduce you to some of my buddies. It's important to have people you can trust to watch your back. That night, lying in bed, I questioned how things had come to this. Reflecting on my rough childhood with an abusive father and a passive mother, I realized the streets became my refuge. I joined a group of guys in similar situations. Not a gang, just kids dealing with tough hands. Our actions didn't help Lansing's high crime rate, mostly petty crimes, but we did steal a car or two, leading me to juvie. Looking back, it was a turning point. I promised to change and plan for a better future. At 20, I bought a tax-foreclosed house, the first of many I renovated and rented out. At 22, at a club whose name I've forgotten, I met Lily. Her life was a contrast to mine, raised in Seymour, Indiana, a small town known for John Cougar Mellencamp. Despite our differences, we clicked, got married a year later, and welcomed Regina a year after that, named after Lily's mother. I bought a house in Oak Forest intending to flip it, but when she saw it, she fell in love and wanted to turn it into our home. Over the next decade, we worked on it together, raising our daughter, hosting barbecues, living the American dream. Then Lily got a job at a law firm, and things changed, especially her attitude. The simple life wasn't enough anymore. She wanted expensive clothes, jewelry, and dining out replaced our backyard BBQs. She also started making disrespectful remarks about South Side Chicagoans. I understand the South Side's reputation, but she, a small-town girl, acted superior to everyone else. We argued about her attitude, and soon after, she insisted we move to the North Side. 3 years ago, we did, hoping for better schools, but Regina faced snobby classmates. She wanted to go back home, and so did I, but Lily refused. The divorce started one night when she said she was going dancing. I tracked her phone and saw her dancing intimately with men from the club, kissing and groping in plain sight. Around 9:15, I had to use the bathroom. While I was there, a guy came in just as he finished. Another guy walked in. "Joe, you were really getting close with Lily on the dance floor. I thought you were going to make a move." "Right there," the first guy said. "Yeah, she's wild," Joe replied. "She knows how to talk too," the second guy added. "For sure, she told me she's going home with me tonight. Finally, we'll have more time for fun instead of just quickies in the office or my car," Joe boasted. "Quick relief is okay, but it's nothing like the whole deal," the second guy commented. "Tonight's going to be a long one," Joe bragged. "Maybe next weekend it'll be my turn," the second guy said as they left the restroom. Their talk seemed more than just bragging. When I stepped out, I saw her in one of the guy's arms, kissing on the dance floor. Around 9:30, she texted me, saying she drank too much and didn't feel safe taking the L late at night. She said she'd stay at Paula's, another paralegal from her office. I replied, "That's okay." She texted back, "Sorry." She'd regret it. I watched as she grabbed her purse and left the club arm in arm with a young lawyer from her office. I followed them. They were so wrapped up in each other that they didn't notice me. They got into his Lexus, kissing and touching each other for a while. I was getting angry, but then my South Side toughness kicked in, and I calmed down, making my plans. I trailed them to his place. They went into the parking garage, so I headed for the mansion. When I got there, I told Regina we were leaving for good, and she should pack whatever she wanted because we weren't coming back. She was thrilled, but asked about Mom. "She's got other guys to take care of her now," I said, and she got it right away. It took us about 3 hours, but we loaded everything into my truck. Luckily, our old place in Oak Forest was empty, so we had somewhere to go. Around 11 the next morning, Saturday, she called me. "Kurt, what's happening? Where are you?" "Home," I replied. It didn't take her long to understand why. She asked, "Knowing why, I don't know you anymore, and I don't want to." "Where's Regina?" "With me. She doesn't want to live with you there anymore." She wasn't sure if I knew about her affair or not, so she tried. "Come on, Kurt. Just because you don't like living luxuriously doesn't mean you can leave and take our daughter." "No, Lily, but having a cheating wife is a good reason to leave. Expect divorce papers next week." She gasped, then said in her usual nasty way, "You low-life Southsider, you have no idea what trouble you're in for. My firm will crush you." "Maybe," I said, "but I'll come out on top. You haven't seen the last of my anger." For the next 6 months, she didn't try to patch things up. Regina revealed Lily's absence until late at night and her harsh comments about me, urging Regina to marry a rich guy for a life of luxury. But Regina defended me, wanting to return to Oak Forest. Now in jail, Lily likely thinks she's won, but I'll make use of my time to plan my revenge. I wonder if she's considered how bills will be paid, or her insurance. And support. Then one Thursday, something occurred that would impact many lives, even those I'd never meet. The guards escorted me to a video room without my lawyer. They instructed me to sit down for judgment. They shut the door, and moments later, they let in 6 inmates, and I knew trouble was brewing. I woke up in the infirmary, all injured and sore. They wanted to show they were in charge, and this was their way. It looked like morning from the sunlight coming in. I'd been out all night. Glaring at the nurse, I felt bitter about the system that took my kid, made me fund my ex's luxury, and tossed me in jail. I was tied down, and my eyes were filled with hate. She assured, "I'm here to help, not hurt. You're badly injured. I can aid your healing, or you can stay in pain." Managing a smile, I apologized. She understood my anger. Leaving briefly, she returned with breakfast and freed my hand. As I ate, I decided to ask for a favor, to see Randall Turner. She promised to check and arranged his visit. When he entered, he exclaimed, "Oh crap." He knew I wasn't about to let this slide. I described the 6 guys and 2 guards who attacked me. Then I said, "I need the full names of all 8, not just their nicknames." "Oh crap," he repeated. "What's your plan?" "An eye for an eye, but with a twist," I replied. "I'll try to get the names," he said. "What do you need me to do?" "Just that, I'll handle the rest." After some more talk, he was taken back to his cell. I had a restless night, strapped to the bed and unable to get comfortable. The next day, Ringer returned with a list. Once again, he asked, "What's your plan?" "The less you know, the better," I replied. "Oh crap," he muttered. The following day, Sunday, brought both good and bad surprises. Lily had come along with Regina. Lily spoke first. "So I see you're getting along with your fellow scum," she remarked. "What the heck do you want?" I snapped. Regina insisted we visit. "You ready to apologize and be reasonable yet?" she asked. "No way, and what's this nonsense about me and Regina?" "You know I'd never do anything to her," I retorted. "How do I know? She seems unusually attached to you," she said. "You 43, why don't you go back to your lovers and let them screw you over? Maybe then you'll see how full of it you are," I shot back. "Just so you know, I've offered myself to them and they loved it," she bragged. "Get out of here," and sent Regina in. "I'm done talking to you," I exclaimed. She smirked, thinking she was getting under my skin. She was. But she was just adding fuel to the fire that would burn her in the end. When they brought Regina in, she burst into tears at the sight of me all bandaged up. "Sweetheart, don't cry. It looks worse than it is," I reassured her. We chatted about small things, then I asked, "Can you do something for me?" "Of course, Dad, anything." I handed her the list Ringer gave me, and she quickly tucked it into her bra. "Give this to Uncle Ken and tell him to come visit me as soon as possible." My brother Ken was 3 years younger. We both grew up with an abusive father, but I shielded him from it as much as I could. He was the brains of the family, getting into computer games and eventually computers themselves. We kept chatting until Lily returned and said, "Regina, it's time to leave." Gina didn't respond to her, just hugged me and walked out. Lily commented, "Your daughter is just as stubborn as you." I simply smiled as she walked away. On Tuesday, Ken came to visit. He was surprised by how I looked. "You're looking better than you did last Friday," I joked. "I'm glad I waited," he quipped back. Then he started talking to me in our secret language, the one we made up when we were kids to talk about Mom and Dad without them understanding. Whenever we need to talk privately, we use it. Gina, he said in our language. "She gave me the list." "I've done some initial digging. What are you looking for?" "Addresses of wives or steady girlfriends," I replied. He looked at me and then said in English, "Oh crap." Using our language, I said, "That's all you need to do. Then give it to Gummy and tell him to visit me but without the list." Gummy was one of my crew. Ken knew he was still living in our parents' old house in Lansing. "I can handle that. Anything else?" Ken asked. "No, that'll do, but don't be a stranger." "I could use some familiar faces now and then," I said. "Aren't you getting out soon?" he inquired. "Not unless I apologize, and you know me better than that," I replied. "You've always been stubborn," he remarked. "Yeah, and it spared you from Dad's drunken anger," I reminded him. He knew I was right and just grinned. "I'll swing by in the next couple of weeks, see if you need anything else," he offered. "That'd be great," I replied. Later in the week, I was back in my usual cell, and Ringer had spread the word that something was brewing and there'd be consequences. They just didn't know what. The looks I got from the guards and the 6 inmates warned me to stay in line or else. Little did they know they'd soon be put in their place. Gummy visited and said, "Ken passed it to me. What's the plan?" "Did you hear what happened to me?" I asked. "Yeah, I did," he replied. "Ken must have filled him in." Payback time, but hit their loved ones. No traces. Use Steely Dan or his cousins, I instructed. He understood and nodded. Coordinate it, same day, same time. Make sure they're told, don't mess with Texas, I added. I'll get some help, he assured before leaving. He'd exact revenge soon, ensuring they couldn't trace it back, but they'd know why. A week passed with no word. I awaited my daughter's visit, dreading seeing Lily. Tuesday morning, I noticed the guards were absent, unusual for a weekday, and one of the 6 inmates seemed distracted and upset. It must have happened yesterday, I figured. I told Ringer to spread the word, don't mess with Texas. Soon, inmates were calling me Tex. Within days, the 6 inmates were glaring at me, and the guards watched closely, but Ringer's crew had my back. When one of the 6 inmates approached, 8 of my allies surrounded us. You scum, my girl dumped me because of you, he said. Or don't mess with Texas, he spat. I smiled. Sounds like sound advice, I warned you. Now your ladies know how it feels. An eye for an eye with a twist. You hurt me, I hurt the ones you love. Tell them next time it'll be their moms. His eyes widened, and he hurried back to his friends. Soon after, the 2 guards approached me, cursing. Who the heck do you think you are? We'll make your stay here a nightmare. Well then, I guess your wives better get ready for a rough ride. They might even enjoy it, I retorted. One of the guards lunged to punch me. I didn't resist. After enduring his blows for a couple of minutes, another guard intervened and pulled him away. Many inmates witnessed the altercation, as did the cameras. I'm sure. I was taken back to the infirmary, where Beth, the nurse who treated me before, greeted me. So we've got a troublemaker, huh? She remarked. I didn't throw any punches. The guard just attacked me, I explained. Well, there will be an investigation this time. There were too many witnesses. He'll likely lose his job over it, she assured. One less jerk guard, I muttered. Those guards are here to keep you safe, whether you like it or not, Beth countered. He sure didn't keep me safe last time. In fact, he let it happen, I shot back. After she bandaged me up, Beth said I'd need to stay overnight for observation. I wondered if she just wanted to check out my battered face. The guard was suspended pending investigation. The other guard gave me stern looks but hesitated to confront me. Maybe he got the message, don't mess with Texas. It had been 3 weeks since Gina visited, and I was worried. Finally, Ken stopped by and informed me that Lily was refusing to bring Gina for a visit. That infuriated me even more. My ex-wife was keeping my daughter away from me. At the end of the month, Lily showed up, almost leaving Gina in the car. But Gina refused to budge no matter how much yelling and screaming Lily did. Lily stormed in, already mad. Your daughter is impossible. She hardly talks to me. She's just as stubborn as you. You said the same thing last time. Why don't you get the judge to change his mind and give me custody of her? I'd gladly take her off your hands, I suggested. You're not getting her. She needs to go to a good school to succeed, Lily insisted. Oak Forest is a good school, and she liked it, I argued. It's nothing compared to Wilmot. She's getting a top-notch education and networking opportunities there, Lily shot back. Our daughter will find her own path. She doesn't need to rely on anyone else, I countered. You're just too stubborn to see the benefits, Lily accused. We've had this argument countless times. You won't change my mind, and I won't change yours. Why did you come here anyway? It wasn't to bring Gina to me, I challenged. Her name is Regina, not Gina. That's not what she wants to be called. Don't you want her to be independent? I retorted. You mean stubborn, Lily corrected. No, I mean independent. Able to think for herself, make her own choices, not swayed by wealth, power, or a Big Johnson, I clarified. She glared at me, knowing that last remark was aimed at her. Anyway, she said, I need my spousal support payment. I have things to buy and bills to pay. Well, you'll have to manage that with your own paycheck. I can't receive checks from my S-Corp while I'm in jail, nor should I. No work means no pay. That's how it works in the real world, I explained. What do you mean? I can't cover all the bills with my salary, she protested. Well, you should have thought about that before dragging me back to court, I retorted. You were being difficult, paying with change, she argued. And now you get no payment because I'm in jail, I stated. But you have to, she insisted. No, I don't. What are they going to do? Throw me in jail again? Oh, I'm already in jail. It wouldn't be smart for them to take me out just to throw me back in, I reasoned. What am I supposed to do about the bills? She whined. I looked at her and said, get one of your lawyer buddies to foot the bills. I'm sure you're worth it. With that, she stormed out of the room. Gina walked in, and I was relieved to see her. You really got her mad, she exclaimed. She thinks I should keep paying her spousal support while I'm stuck in here. Good luck with that, I chuckled. How are you holding up, Dad? Don't worry about me, I'll be okay. Or how about you? Still avoiding talking to your mom? Yeah, just when I have to, she replied. So when do you think you'll be out of here, honey? I won't apologize to that jerk of a judge. The only way I'd say sorry is if he gave you back to me, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. I might be in here until my 6 months are up. I get it, she said sadly. My birthday's next month. I'd love for you to be out so we could celebrate, but I wouldn't want you to compromise your principles. We can have a big celebration when you're out. That hit me hard. I started thinking maybe I was being too stubborn. Being in here was hurting my little girl. Then Gina dropped some wisdom on me. If a person doesn't have principles, he has nothing. Like Abraham Lincoln said, important principles may and must be inflexible, she quoted. Where'd you hear that? I asked. My counselor, Dr. Hodges, at school. It's been helpful having someone to talk to about all this. Some teachers noticed my grades slipping and got the counselor to chat with me. It's also helping me deal with Mom even though I'm still not talking to her. Figures a fancy school like Wilmette would have a PhD as their counselor. Those rich kids couldn't just chat with any regular school counselor. I turned to Gina and said, "Looks like your mom's not too happy with you either." "Yeah, she's getting pretty annoyed with me." I just brush it off. It seems to make her even angrier, but I'm not bothered, Gina replied. Well, in a couple more months, she'll have to find somewhere else to live. The bank won't wait forever for its jumbo loan payment. I reckon her mansion will be foreclosed on within 3 months, I explained. But Dad, won't that mess up your credit if the house gets foreclosed? Gina asked. Honey, when you usually pay with cash, you don't care about credit. That dumb mansion was the only thing I ever borrowed money for, I clarified. Really? Wow, Dad, even with all your rental properties and other businesses, you never took out a loan? Gina marveled. I used cash from the others to buy new ones, I revealed. Dad, I've always admired you, but now even more, she said, smiling. Thanks, honey. You sure know how to lift my spirits, I responded. It was wonderful seeing my daughter, but it made me wish we could spend more time together regularly. Missing her birthday would be tough for both of us, but I knew she was strong. The following week, I heard that the guard who hit me was fired. It was hard to argue against the video evidence showing me not fighting back. Soon after, the other guard left too. I'm not sure if he got transferred, but at least he was gone. Many inmates thanked me for getting rid of the bad guards. I think I gained some respect and more people started calling me Tex after that. I had fewer problems. The 6 inmates were still angry with me. I heard that one of their wives filed for divorce and 3 others got dumped by their girlfriends. Maybe foolish people can learn. With the threat of more revenge and my improved standing among the inmates, they knew better than to mess with me. A couple of weeks later, I received a summons to meet with the judge in the video room. I told the guard I wouldn't meet anyone without my lawyer. He insisted the judge was waiting, but I stood my ground. I wanted my lawyer present, and if needed, they could reschedule because my schedule was open. I was informed 3 days later that the meeting was scheduled for the following week. I requested a half-hour session with my lawyer before the meeting for discussion. They arranged it, and my lawyer and I met to strategize. My lawyer mentioned he hadn't received any details about the meeting, which struck him as odd. We decided to proceed cautiously. When the judge appeared on the video, he seemed displeased about the delay. I wasn't bothered. To me, he was just an arrogant judge who thought he was above everyone else. My lawyer wasted no time and started speaking. Your Honor, could you clarify the purpose of this meeting? We received no prior information, just instructions to attend. You didn't need to involve your lawyer, he replied. I simply wanted to see if you were ready to apologize for your behavior in court. I signaled to my lawyer, who leaned in as I whispered to him. Your Honor, my lawyer responded, my client refuses to apologize and instead requests an apology from you. Additionally, he seeks primary custody of his child. The judge appeared shocked. How could I ask for an apology? Obviously, he wasn't going to comply. I stand by my decision regarding the child, and I owe no apology, he declared. In that case, this meeting has been a waste of time. If my client changes his mind in the future, we'll seek another hearing. Good day, sir, my lawyer concluded. One more thing, the judge interjected. I thought to myself, now we'll learn the true reason behind this meeting. Your client isn't meeting the divorce terms. When will he start paying spousal support and the mortgage? The judge asked. I whispered to my lawyer again, sharing my response. My client doesn't plan to make payments while he's in jail, my lawyer informed the judge. But the house is going into foreclosure, the judge pointed out. That's my wife's mansion, not my home. I never wanted it, I clarified, addressing the judge directly. You'll ruin your credit and lose your equity, he warned. I'm willing to take that hit to see my ex-wife where she belongs, I retorted. Then, knowing it would infuriate him, I added, maybe her lovers can foot the bill. With a dozen of them, they can surely manage. I knew suggesting my wife was promiscuous, and he was one of her lovers would anger him. You worthless scum from the South Side, who do you think you're talking to? He exploded. Before he could continue, I interjected, I'm addressing someone who's been involved with my wife. If I'm mistaken, I apologize, but I'm baffled why someone with no stake seems so concerned. I stood up and headed towards the door to leave. I heard the judge say, your client just earned himself an extra 2 months in jail. If he keeps disrespecting me, I'll make his life a living hell. I grinned as I waited for the guard to take me back to my cell. He looked stunned, clearly shocked by what I'd just done. Back in my cell, I was buzzing with energy. It seemed my wife had mentioned the mortgage to her lovers, who then talked to the judge. What a mess. Their time was coming. The following Sunday, Lily couldn't resist visiting me in jail. Fortunately, Gina caught wind of it and insisted on coming along. So you managed to anger the judge again and scored 2 more months. When will you learn you can't beat the system? Lily scolded. Lily, why don't you just stop talking to me? Your Northside attitude isn't helping. I just need you to make sure Gina visits me regularly, I replied. She practically screamed, it's Regina. I turned away and refused to engage with her further. She kept complaining until she finally left, and then Gina entered. She entered with a big smile on her face. I asked her why she was so happy. Because I get to see my dad, she exclaimed. That can't be the only reason, I said. Well, I do have a surprise for you, but I can't reveal it yet. Dad, do you trust me? With my life, I replied. Then will you sign this paper without reading it, she asked, holding up a folded piece of paper. I eyed her suspiciously. What's going on? You'll have to wait and see. You trust me, right? I grinned and signed the paper. Gina had it folded, so only the spot for my name was visible. Mom said something about you getting 2 more months added to your jail time. Is that true? She asked. Yeah, sorry about that, honey. What happened? I had another disagreement with the judge. Well, whatever you did, he probably deserved it. We chatted more about school and her mom. She kept bringing up this Dr. Alex Hodges and wondering what was happening. I tried to pry the surprise she had planned with my signature, but she insisted on keeping it a secret. Well, I'm bummed I won't be there for your sweet 16, but I'll have a birthday present ready for you when you visit next, I said. What is it? She asked. That's a surprise. Looks like we both have surprises in store, I replied. Before she left, I asked Gina to arrange for Greg to visit me. Greg was my right-hand man, handling all my business matters. Sure thing, Dad, she said. I had given Greg a few tasks to handle when I expected to be jailed. Hopefully, he managed to take care of them. Now I had another task for him. Gina's birthday surprise. Later that week, Greg came to see me. He had managed to handle most of the tasks I assigned him. Then I briefed him on Gina's birthday surprise. Are you sure about this? He asked. Yeah, it's the perfect gift for her, I confirmed. Okay, I'll talk to our lawyer, he agreed. Also, drop by my brother Ken's place and give him what you've got. He'll know what to do. If he's got any questions, tell him to come see me. If not, tell him to get in touch with Gummy. Got it, he said before leaving. I couldn't help but smile, knowing that Gummy would carry out my revenge plans while I stayed innocent in jail. By the end of the month, my status among the inmates had improved. That guard must have spread the word about how I stood up to the judge. And like any other grapevine, the news quickly spread. Soon, everyone was calling me Tex. At the end of the month, I had a surprise visitor. Walking into the room, I spotted Lily sitting there. I almost turned to leave, but she stopped me. Kurt, please stay. I need to talk to you, she pleaded. I've got nothing to say to you, Lily, I retorted. We're about to lose our house. Please, you have to give me some money to stop the foreclosure, she begged. Lily, that house is yours. I never wanted it, but you kept insisting until I gave in. It means nothing to me, and with the market down, we've got no equity in it. Let the bank take it, I said firmly. You can't do that, Kurt. You have to help me, she insisted. Go ask your friends for help. I'm sure they've got enough money. Then you can be the person you truly are, I snapped. Why are you doing this? She cried. Why did you lie to the judge about me molesting our daughter? I fired back. She was speechless. She knew she'd wronged me. Sobbing, she broke down, and I walked out, feeling relieved to have spoken my mind. On the way back to my cell, the guard got a call and was told to bring me back. Expecting to see Lily begging for help again, I was surprised to find Gina. Gina, your mom didn't tell me she brought you, I said. I wouldn't let her come alone, she replied. I'm sorry I missed your birthday, I told her, but I've got a present for you regardless. Dad, I knew you wouldn't be there, and it's okay. I still love you, and you don't have to give me anything, she assured me. What an amazing daughter I have, I thought. Well, I don't have it with me, but I can tell you what it is. Gina, the Oak Forest home is yours. It's going into a trust for you until you're an adult. And when I get out, can I stay there? Of course, I'll pay you rent, I promised her. Then Gummy visited. Everything was set. Footage of my wife, other paralegals, and politicians doing illegal things. We had hidden cameras installed by cleaners who were paid well. We'd expose them all. My brother would anonymously post the videos online with a tagline, "Don't mess with Texas." News outlets and tabloids would go wild. Politicians and lawyers would scramble to cover up. I grinned and told him, "Next week, spread the word about what's next." He agreed. Got it. Walking back to my cell, I grinned again. Ringer saw and knew I'd talked to Gummy. He muttered, "Uh-oh." I just nodded, smiling wider. When the videos dropped, I was in my bunk. I heard chatter spreading in the jail. Clearly, news had reached us. People were saying, "Don't mess with Texas." Surprisingly, the big guy, one of the 6 inmates, came to my cell. He apologized for what he did. "I warned you not to mess with me. Now others regret it. I match kindness with kindness and violence with violence." He hoped I'd accept his apology. "Sure, but remember, size doesn't make you invincible." He nodded and left. 3 days later, I was called by the judge. My lawyer was on the way. In the video room, waiting for the judge, my lawyer smirked. "Wonder what this is about." "Time will tell," I grinned. He muttered, "Uh-oh." When the judge appeared, furious, accusing me, he yelled, "You did this!" I deadpanned. "What are you talking about? Your Tex, right?" He still yelled. "I've been called that," I replied calmly. "You'll pay for this," he yelled again. "I've been locked up for 4 months." "Or how could I have done anything?" I stated. "You have friends." "We all have friends, Your Honor," I retorted sarcastically. "You won't get away with this," he spat. "I don't know, Judge. You might lose your job soon, and your wife's divorcing you," I countered. "Call off your dogs," he demanded. "Now you're calling my friends dogs. They might not like that." "Corner a dog, you might get bit," I warned. "Are you threatening me?" he questioned. "No, just stating an old saying," I clarified. "I'll make your life hell. Watch your back. When you get out, you'll answer to people who don't care about you, and I'll be happy with whatever happens," he threatened before cutting off. I turned to my lawyer. "Got that?" "Sure did," he nodded, showing his phone. "More evidence. The Bar Association will want to know. Intimidation's a felony in Illinois." A few days later, my wife visited again. "Oh, it's you. I thought I made it clear I had nothing to say," I remarked. "You bastard," she yelled. "What's wrong?" I asked calmly. "You got me fired. My face is everywhere because of you." "How could you?" she complained. "You did it, not me," I countered. "Do you hate me that much?" "Yeah, and all your lawyer buddies who think they're above everyone else," I retorted. "You used to be a nice small-town girl with a great personality. Now you're just a selfish city snob," I continued. "What do I do now?" "No job and nobody wants to hire me," she lamented. "Maybe move back home with your folks and start over," I suggested. "I can't. The local paper's calling me the center of a Chicago scandal. My parents are retiring early and moving to Florida to avoid the gossip," she explained. "Florida might suit you, far away from me," I remarked. "But they don't want me either. They barely talk to me," she sighed. "Maybe it's your fault if both your parents and daughter don't want to be around you," I remarked. "You should move and start fresh. Just don't take Gina with you. I'll fight for custody once I'm out. With your reputation, they'll reconsider you as a moral example." "You can't do that. She's all I have," she protested. "I don't care. You did this to yourself. We had a good life until you messed around. Maybe you could become a companion for one of your lawyer buddies. At almost 40, you might still find a market," I taunted. She looked pained, her head dropping to the table as she cried. "Tough luck," I remarked. "Did you bring Gina?" She got mad, saying, "It's Regina." "And no, she's with her doctor friend," she snapped. "Then there's nothing more to talk about. Don't bother coming back unless you bring Regina," I said, walking away. This time I didn't feel smug. I felt sorry for her. She was shattered. The next day, I watched a news report. A fire had broken out on the top floor of a downtown office building, gutting it. The lower floors were saved by sprinklers. I couldn't help but smile. Ken visited me the following day, saying the law firm's off-site server crashed, losing all their data. Again, I just smiled. A couple of weeks later, Gina came to see me, beaming. She must have convinced her mom to bring her. She looked happier than ever. "Gina," I greeted her. "You seem so happy. What's up?" "I finally finished your surprise." "You'll never guess," she exclaimed. "Well, from our last chat, it sounds like." It involves the Oak Forest house. Did you and your mom move back there? I guessed. Close, she replied cryptically. I was confused. What do you mean? Mom's getting kicked out of the Wilmot house and I'm moving to Oak Forest, she revealed. How's that possible? The court gave your mom custody until you're an adult, I reminded her. That's the surprise. I got emancipated, she announced. With the house in trust for me, it was easy. I needed a safe place, and our old neighborhood is perfect. So you're legally an adult now? I clarified, still trying to wrap my head around it. Yeah, when school got tough due to home issues, Dr. Hodges helped me out. Once you're out, we can go back home. I'm excited to return to high school in Oak Forest, already caught up with old friends. They're eager for school to start. Mom mentioned you spending time with your counselor. I'd like to meet Alex, I said, wary of an older guy's attention to my daughter. You're in luck. Alex brought me here today, Gina replied. My concern spiked. He was driving her around Chicago? I'll be right back, she said, heading for the door. I needed to tread carefully. How to let Alex know his boundaries with my daughter without upsetting her. When Gina returned, she wasn't alone. A stunning woman followed her, smiling at me. Freddie? Haven't heard that name in 20 years, she replied. Freddie, or Alexandria Frederico, grew up in my neighborhood. We went to school together. Gina looked puzzled. Dad, how do you know Dr. Hodges? Freddie and I were neighbors. We didn't hang out much, I explained. And you were a troublemaker back then, she teased. Seems not much has changed. I flushed. Some things never change. That makes sense, she said. Should I start calling you Tex? Why Tex? Gina asked. It was his nickname growing up. He wasn't one to let things slide. Your mom's done him wrong, and I bet he's behind the law firm mess, she speculated. I plead the fifth, I joked. Before we continue, I hope you don't mind me spending time with Regina, she asked. It's Gina, Regina corrected. Oops, my bad, she apologized. When I first talked to Gina 9 months ago, she was upset. I noticed her last name, D'Angelo, not common. When I saw her dad's name was Kurt, I thought of you, Tex. When she mentioned you were in jail, I was pretty sure. I wasn't great back then, I admitted. You must have turned things around to have a place in Wilmot, she observed. It's just a house, not home, I clarified. Our real home's in Oak Forest, Gina interjected. South side, but better than where we grew up, Alex added. Yeah, wish we stayed there. Maybe things would be different, I reflected sadly. It was true. If Lily had been satisfied, we'd still be together. After chatting, I thanked Freddie for helping Gina. No problem, Tex. She's like family, Freddie replied. I've grown attached. Thanks again, I said. When you're out, let me grab dinner, she suggested. I'll make sure of it if I ever get out, I said with a sigh. The following 2 weeks passed by without any changes, just the usual routine in jail. Gina and Freddie visited both Sundays, which I appreciated. Freddie really looked after Gina. She mentioned that Alex helped her decorate the house, buying new furniture and decor. When I asked about the money, Gina said, Uncle Ken's helping out and I have my own savings, remember? Yeah, I just didn't want Freddie footing the bill, I replied. She's been great, but no, she hasn't paid for anything, Gina reassured. I hope it's not all girly stuff. I want to feel at home there, I mentioned. Don't worry, your man cave's untouched, she assured, referring to the basement, my retreat from living with 2 females. After they left, I pondered my daughter's maturity. She's legally an adult now. Soon I'll be on my own. In a couple of years, she'll head to college. I hope to find someone who valued simple things. Then Lily visited on Monday. I almost left when I saw her. Kurt, wait, we need to talk, she said. I sighed and turned back. What now? Do you know what our daughter did? Lily asked. What are you talking about? I inquired. She got emancipated. She's moved out, and I don't know where she is, Lily explained. Oh, that, I said. So you knew? Did you push her into it? Lily accused. No, she did it herself with her school counselor's help, I clarified. She's back on the south side. What about school? Lily asked, concerned. I told her she's going back to Oak Forest in the fall, I stated. She hated that Wilmot school, Lily. She was always belittled for being from the projects, as they called it. You took her from a school where she was happy with good friends and put her in a situation that damaged her self-esteem. You did more harm than good moving her there. I was trying to ensure she got a good education, she defended. Kids learn from their parents' example more than in a classroom. We taught her life's lessons. What do you think your example teaches her? I hope it shows her what not to do. Our job is to raise responsible adults. I hope we've done that despite our failures, especially in our marriage, I reflected. It wasn't all bad, she countered, but it ended up that way. I hope you find what you're looking for. Clearly, I didn't have it, I responded. Seeing her sorrow and regret, I left the table feeling sorry for her once more. Finally, the day came for my release. I was summoned to court. Gina, Freddie, and Lily were there. As I waited for the judge, I wondered what he'd say. I wasn't going to apologize. We rose as the judge entered. It wasn't the same one. Maybe the other lost his job. After reviewing the facts, the judge addressed me. Mr. D'Angelo, what do you have to say for yourself? I've served my initial 6 months plus an extra 2, I replied. You could have apologized, been freed, he reminded. I didn't feel the other judge deserved my apology, so I completed his sentence, I stated. You're stubborn, the judge remarked. I prefer strong will. It's helped me in business and life, I retorted. Your divorce settlement stands, and you'll need to pay restitution for the time not served, the judge concluded. Then my lawyer chimed in, saying, Your Honor, my client is willing to pay what he owes. Our calculation comes to just under $20,000. Today, he'll pay her the full $20,000, understanding that he's met his financial obligations and won't owe any more. Lily stood up in protest. What? You owe me more than that. You need to keep paying until Regina turns 18. The judge intervened sternly. Miss, I'll handle all matters in my courtroom. Now, counselor, explain your calculations. My client paid the initial spousal support, mortgage and insurance, as well as supported his daughter financially. During his time in jail, he couldn't pay spousal support or the mortgage because he wasn't employed. Now that he can work, he can start earning again, my lawyer explained. After reviewing the facts, the judge remarked, Your client was incarcerated for 8 months. Just the spousal support would be $16,000, not to mention the mortgage. Your Honor, the court order stated, until minor child becomes a legal adult. The child in question has been emancipated for the last 3 months, as documented. The house was foreclosed upon 3 months ago, so there couldn't be payments on a non-existent loan. The total owed is $1,782. He'll pay her $20,000 and consider all ties severed, my lawyer clarified. The judge scrutinized the documents and our calculations. He couldn't dispute the facts presented. I'll need to do further research on this. If what you've presented is accurate, then I'll accept this amount. Then he addressed both Lily and me. You share a child. Despite her legal status, she's still a teenager with needs. You both need to be civil for her sake. And Mr. D'Angelo, you should extend that civility to others involved in your divorce. Can I get your word on that? Yes, Your Honor, I acknowledged. Mrs. D'Angelo, the judge addressed. Yes, Your Honor, she replied. And Regina? He looked at Gina in the gallery. It's Gina, but yes, Your Honor, she clarified. Then unless these figures prove false, I'll close this case. Mr. D'Angelo, you're free to go, the judge declared. Thank you, Your Honor, my lawyer expressed gratitude. As we left, Gina rushed over and hugged me tightly while Freddie stood nearby, smiling. I noticed Lily glaring at us. She then approached me, exclaiming, $20,000, that's it? That's unfair, why? You chose your new partners over me. They can support you now, I responded calmly. You can't do this to me, she protested. Lily, let's be civil for Gina's sake, I urged. It's Regina, she snapped. Our daughter, I reiterated. Okay. What am I supposed to do? I have nothing, she lamented. You'll find another job, and I can help with housing. I have a rental you can stay in, rent-free for 6 months, I offered. Move back to the south side, she whined. It's free, Lily. Can't argue with that, I reasoned. Oh, she sighed in frustration. Turning to Gina and Freddie, I asked, ready to go? Absolutely, they both chimed. Freddie, I owe you dinner, I remembered. I think so too, she agreed. Let's head to RPM Italian. I made a reservation after getting release confirmation. I need to erase the taste of jail food, I suggested. From the corner of my eye, I saw Lily's fury. RPM Italian was our spot for special occasions. I booked the table for 6:30, so we've got some time. Mind if we take a drive? I just want to feel the freedom, I suggested. Then, turning to Freddie, I asked, I reserved for 4. Can you check if your husband can join us? She fell silent, her expression blank. Then Gina spoke up. Dad, she doesn't have a husband anymore. I never told you. I was confused. Freddie always wore wedding rings whenever we talked, and she still had them on. What was I missing? I'm sorry, Freddie, I didn't mean to upset you, I apologized. It's okay, you didn't know. My husband died in a car accident on the Eisenhower about 5 years ago. A big rig forced him into the divider. They said he died instantly, Freddie revealed. I'm deeply sorry, Freddie, I had no idea. I assumed because you wore rings that you were married, I expressed regret. Yeah, I just can't bring myself to take them off yet. Feels like letting him go. I know, a psychologist with a mental issue. I've heard it before, Freddie responded. Well, I'm sorry, Will you still join us so I can make it up to you? I asked. She looked solemn but agreed. I think that'll be okay. I realized I'd been too caught up in my own troubles and revenge to ask about her life. I felt awful. I resolved to change that. From now on, I'd be open to hearing her story, to being a better friend. The dinner was fantastic. It was a relief to wear regular clothes and not constantly watch my back. But being free felt a bit strange after 8 months. By the end of the meal, I felt more at ease. I asked Freddie, "Alexandria, whenever you're ready, would you let me take you out on a proper date? I'll wait however long it takes. Can we keep in touch until then?" "Dad, we're definitely keeping in touch. She's not getting rid of me that easily," Gina reassured. "And I wouldn't want it any other way," Freddie replied to Gina. Then she turned to me and explained, "Mike and I never had kids. With my studies and his business, the timing wasn't right. Having Gina as a sort of daughter has been therapeutic for me. I hope that's okay with you. After everything you've done for us, I wouldn't want it any other way," I assured her. Leaving the restaurant, Gina mentioned, "Hope you like how our old house looks." "Anything's better than where I've been the past 8 months," I joked. Arriving there, I was surprised. The shutters were painted, the bushes trimmed. It looked great outside, and inside felt more like a home than ever. I could sense Freddie's influence. Cheesy as it sounds, tears welled up in my eyes. This toughened criminal was emotional. "Kurt," Freddie called out. Wiping my eyes, I admitted, "I feel like I'm home." "Kurt," Alex said. I turned to her, puzzled. She removed her rings, smiling at me. Unable to resist, I smiled back, and we hugged. 10 lawyers, 4 paralegals, 6 politicians, and a judge saw their careers and marriages destroyed because of the events surrounding my divorce and its aftermath. Whether seen as stubborn or strong-willed, sometimes sticking to your principles pays off. On a positive note, Gina gained a new mother as well as a younger brother and sister, both about 18 years her junior. They were twins, named Frederick and Alexis, and I found it fitting to name them after the person who helped me start anew. As for Lily, she married a wealthy lawyer, perhaps finally achieving what she desired. While I believed we had everything: a loving family, a nice home in a good neighborhood, a healthy child, and a successful business that alleviated financial concerns, she seemed to crave status above all else. Now she has that status, married to a rich lawyer residing in a large house in Winnetka. However, she also has a husband who is a disrespectful womanizer, using her for appearances rather than genuine affection. I hope she's content. I know I am.
Story 3.
Jason Carter stood before the boardroom mirror, adjusting his tie for the 3rd time. The promotion announcement would come any minute now. After 14 years of dedication, countless late nights, and sacrificing family time, surely the regional manager position would be his. He needed this not just for the money, but to finally prove his worth to Amy. The conference room buzzed with anticipation as Mr. Davidson, the CEO, cleared his throat. After careful consideration, we're pleased to announce our new regional manager for the Eastern Division. Jason's heart hammered against his ribs. Michael Brooks. The room erupted in applause while Jason's world tilted sideways. Michael, barely 5 years with the company, but married to Davidson's niece. Jason forced his face into a congratulatory smile, shaking hands and offering hollow praise while his dreams crumbled around him. His phone vibrated. Amy's text glowed on the screen. "Did you get it?" His fingers hovered over the keys. Before he could respond, another message appeared. "Never mind. That silence says everything." Typical. The drive home felt endless. Rush hour traffic crawled along the highway as Jason rehearsed how to break the news. Maybe if he explained the politics involved, the nepotism that worked against him. He almost laughed at his own naivety. Amy wouldn't care about excuses. Their 2-story colonial came into view, its manicured lawn and fresh paint hiding the rot that festered within. Jason pulled into the driveway, noting Amy's Mercedes parked at an angle that deliberately left no room for his modest Honda. Another of her petty power plays, the garage door hummed open to reveal shopping bags scattered across the floor. Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton. Jason's stomach clenched. They couldn't afford this, not with Emma's private school tuition due next month. "I'm home," he called out, stepping into the kitchen. The aroma of expensive takeout filled the air, not their usual Friday night pizza that Emma loved, but something exotic and pretentious from that new fusion place downtown. Amy sat at the Marble Island, scrolling through her phone. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves over bare shoulders, her dress more suitable for a cocktail party than dinner at home. She didn't look up. "You're late." Traffic was, save it. She set her phone down with deliberate slowness. "I already know you failed." Again, her lips curved into a smile that never reached her eyes. "God, Jason, do you enjoy being such a disappointment?" "Amy," the position went to Michael Brooks. "His uncle." "Excuses." She stood, heels clicking against the hardwood floors as she circled him like a predator. "That's all you ever offer. Excuses and mediocrity." Her hand traced his chest, nails slightly digging in. "Do you know what that says about you?" "I provide well for this family," Jason said quietly, thinking of Emma upstairs. "We have a good life." Amy's laugh cut like broken glass. "Good? Good is for losers, Jason. Good is what people settle for when they're too weak to grab what they really want." She moved closer, her designer perfume overwhelming his senses. "Remember Tom from my yoga class? He just made partner at his firm. Drives a Porsche 911. Has a vacation home in the Hamptons. We went to the beach. The Jersey Shore?" Her voice dripped contempt. "My God, listen to yourself. This is exactly why you'll never be more than what you are. A middle management nobody who thinks a weekend at the shore is living large." She leaned in, her breath hot against his ear. "Tom would never settle for good. He takes what he wants. He's everything you're not." Jason's jaw clenched, but he remained silent. 7 years of marriage had taught him that arguing only fed her cruelty. She'd twist his words, manipulate the situation until somehow he was apologizing for her behavior. "Where's Emma?" he asked instead. "At a sleepover. Jessica's house." Amy's eyes narrowed. "Running to hide behind our daughter again? That's your solution to everything, isn't it?" "I'm going to call and check on her." "God, you're pathetic." Amy grabbed her keys from the counter. "I'm going out. Don't wait up, not that you ever do anything else. It's Friday. We always have family dinner on." "Family dinner?" She laughed, the sound hollow and cruel. "Look around, Jason. What family? I see a weak man who can't even get a promotion, living in his sad little world of good enough. I'm suffocating here." She walked to the door, then paused. "Oh, and Jason? The credit card was declined at Nordstrom today. Fix it. I refuse to be embarrassed like that again." The door slammed behind her, leaving Jason alone in the kitchen he'd spent months renovating himself. Every detail, from the crown molding to the under-cabinet lighting, he'd done with his own hands. Amy had called it cheap and amateurish, but Emma loved helping him paint the walls her favorite shade of yellow that he climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavy with the weight of his thoughts. Emma's room was a sanctuary, painted in soft purples and filled with stuffed animals. Even empty, it provided more comfort than any other space in the house. Jason sat on the edge of her bed, picking up Mr. Whiskers, the stuffed cat he'd given her for her 5th birthday. Amy had sneered at the modest gift, but Emma had declared it her favorite, sleeping with it every night since. "I'm doing this for you, princess," he whispered to the empty room. "Everything I do is for you." His phone buzzed again. Another text from Amy, having drinks with Tom. "Don't embarrass me by calling or texting. Some of us actually have a social life." Jason set the phone down, his hands shaking slightly. He knew what drinks with Tom meant. He'd seen the way she looked at him at their neighborhood barbecue last month, laughing too loudly at his jokes, touching his arm, flipping her hair. He'd watched Tom's eyes follow her around the party, undressing her with his gaze while his own wife chatted obliviously with other guests. But what could he do? Amy would deny everything, turn it around on him, accuse him of being paranoid and controlling. She'd threatened to take Emma, knowing it was the one weapon he couldn't defend against. So he did what he always did, buried the pain deep inside, adding another layer to the wall of resentment growing in his heart that a text from Jessica's mom popped up. "Emma's having a great time. They're making friendship bracelets and watching movies." At least his daughter was happy, safe in her innocent world of sleepovers and crafts. He'd keep it that way as long as he could, shield her from the toxic reality of her parents' marriage. It was the only thing that mattered now. Jason walked to his home office, the one space Amy rarely entered. She called it his cave and mocked the modest furniture he'd chosen. But it was here, surrounded by family photos and Emma's artwork, that he felt most like himself, that he opened his laptop, planning to lose himself in work, when an email notification caught his eye. Subject line: Regional Manager Position Follow-up. His heart skipped as he opened it. The first paragraph was corporate fluff, but then, while the position has been filled, we value your contributions and would like to discuss other advancement opportunities. A small spark of hope flickered in his chest. Maybe there was still a chance to prove himself, to build something better for Emma's future. He began typing a response, pushing thoughts of Amy and Tom to the back of his mind. Hours passed as he worked, the quiet house a strange comfort. Around midnight, the distant sound of Amy's Mercedes pulling into the driveway broke his concentration. Her heels clicked on the stairs, unsteady. She was drunk again. She paused outside his office door. Still working, loser? Her words slurred slightly. Tom closed $1 million deal today. What did you do? Push papers and hide in your cave? Jason didn't respond, didn't look up. After a moment, she continued down the hall, mumbling something about wasted potential and settling for mediocrity, that he waited until her door closed before letting out a long breath. Something had to change. He couldn't keep living like this, walking on eggshells in his own home, watching his wife's barely concealed affairs, enduring her constant belittlement. But as he reached for his phone to check on Emma one last time, he knew he was trapped. Amy would never let him have custody. She'd fight dirty, use her family's money and connections to destroy him. He'd seen it happen to his friend David last year. Another weak husband who dared to stand up to his wife, that he would endure. He would take her abuse, her affairs, her cruelty. He would smile and nod and play his part, for now, little did Amy know, every insult, every betrayal, every manipulation was being stored away, building something dark and determined in Jason's heart. One day, when the time was right, when he had gathered enough evidence and built an ironclad case, he would show her exactly how weak he wasn't. But that day wasn't today. Today, he was still the dutiful husband, the provider, the punching bag for Amy's narcissistic games. Tomorrow would be another story entirely. The next few weeks brought subtle changes to the Carter household. Amy's yoga classes multiplied, now happening almost every evening. Her phone became an extension of her hand, screen always tilted away from Jason's view. She started dressing differently, clothes that left little to the imagination, outfits that made Emma ask innocent questions about why mommy was going to the gym in party clothes. Jason noticed everything. The lingering scent of unfamiliar cologne when she returned home. The mysterious charges at high-end hotels appearing on their credit card statements. The way she'd answer calls in whispered tones, slipping into the bathroom or garage for privacy. One Wednesday evening, Jason sat at the kitchen table helping Emma with her math homework when Amy sauntered in, wearing a dress that belonged in a nightclub rather than their suburban home. "Wow, Mommy, you look like a princess," Emma exclaimed, her eyes wide with childish admiration. Amy preened, adjusting the barely there fabric. "Thank you, sweetie. Mommy has a special business dinner tonight." Jason's pen paused over Emma's worksheet. "Business dinner? You don't work in?" "Actually," Amy cut him off, her smile sharp as a razor. "It's with Tom. He's considering investing in my new venture." "What venture?" The words came out harder than he intended. Amy's eyes gleamed with malicious pleasure. "Don't worry your simple little head about it, honey. Some of us have ambitions beyond pushing papers all day." She bent down to kiss Emma's forehead, giving Jason a deliberate view down her dress. "Don't wait up." After Emma was tucked in bed, Jason retreated to his office, trying to lose himself in work. But every few minutes, his eyes drifted to the family photo on his desk taken 2 years ago at Disney World. They looked happy then. Normal. Amy was smiling, holding Emma. No hint of the cruelty that now defined her. His phone buzzed. A text from Amy. "Having drinks at the Peninsula Hotel. Tom says hi." The Peninsula. Their honeymoon hotel. She'd chosen it deliberately, another twist of the knife. Jason's hands shook as he set the phone down. Memories of their wedding night, now tainted by the knowledge of what she'd become. Hours passed in a fog of spreadsheets and unanswered emails. Around midnight, the sound of heels clicking on hardwood pulled him from his work-induced trance. The office door swung open, revealing Amy in all her calculated glory. Her lipstick was slightly smudged, her hair artfully mussed. "We need to talk." She perched on the edge of his desk, deliberately pushing aside his papers. The scent of expensive whiskey and Tom's signature cologne enveloped him. "It's late, Amy. Emma has school. I want an open marriage." The words fell between them like bombs in the quiet room. "Actually, I'm not asking. I'm telling you." Jason's world tilted on its axis. Despite suspecting her infidelity, hearing her declare it so brazenly sent ice through his veins. "What?" Amy's red lips curved into a cruel smile. "Oh, don't act so shocked. You can't possibly think I'm satisfied with just you." She leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper. "I'll spend a wild night with my tall lover. He's everything you're not. We have a daughter. And—" She stood, smoothing her dress with deliberate slowness. "Emma's asleep. She'll never know. Unless—" Her eyes glittered dangerously. "Unless you want to make this difficult." The threat hung in the air between them. Jason's hands curled into fists under his desk, but Emma's face flashed through his mind. Sweet, innocent Emma, who needed both her parents, who still believed in fairy tales and happy endings. "That's what I thought." Amy's smile widened, victory written in every line of her face. She turned to leave, then paused in the doorway. "Don't wait up, honey. I plan to have a very, very good time tonight." The sound of her heels faded down the hall. Moments later, the front door opened and closed. Her car engine roared to life, the sound fading into the night like his last shred of dignity. Jason sat frozen in his chair, his mind racing through years of memories. Their first date, when she'd seemed so genuine, laughing at his jokes and asking about his dreams. Their wedding day, her eyes shining with what he'd thought was love as she promised forever. The day Emma was born, when Amy had held their daughter with such tenderness that Jason's heart nearly burst. Had it all been a lie? A carefully constructed facade hiding the monster beneath? He pushed back from his desk, needing to move, to think, to breathe. His feet carried him to Emma's room. She slept peacefully, Mr. Whiskers clutched to her chest, a small smile playing on her lips. What was she dreaming about? A world where her parents loved each other? Where her mother wasn't destroying their family piece by piece? Back in his office, Jason pulled out his phone, thumb hovering over his lawyer's contact. One call could start the divorce process. One call could free him from Amy's psychological torture. One call could cost him everything. Amy's family had money, connections, the best lawyers in the state. They'd paint him as the villain, the controlling husband who couldn't handle a strong, independent woman. They'd use his long work hours against him, claim he was an absent father. And Amy would stop at nothing to hurt him. Even if it meant using Emma as a weapon, the hours crawled by like years. Jason alternated between pacing his office and checking on Emma, his mind conjuring increasingly vivid images of Amy with her lover. Around 3 in the morning, his phone lit up with a text, "Getting a room at the Peninsula. Don't bother calling. I won't answer." Attached was a photo of Amy at the hotel bar, sitting far too close to a tall, handsome man Jason didn't recognize. Her hand rested on his thigh, her wedding ring clearly visible. Another deliberate dig. Dawn found Jason still in his office chair, tie loosened, eyes red from lack of sleep. The morning sun painted his desk with accusatory fingers of light, illuminating the family photos that now felt like mockeries of happiness. Emma's voice drifted up from the kitchen. "Daddy, can you help me make breakfast?" Jason stood on shaky legs, straightening his clothes. He had to be strong now, had to pretend everything was normal. Emma didn't deserve to have her world shattered by her mother's selfishness. "Coming, princess." He forced cheer into his voice, pushing down the rage and pain that threatened to overwhelm him. But as he helped Emma pour cereal and pack her lunch, something crystallized in Jason's heart. A resolve, hard and cold as diamond, began to form. Amy thought she'd won, thought she'd broken him completely. She believed her threats and manipulation would keep him in line forever. She was wrong for now. He would play along. He would endure her flaunting her affairs, her cruel taunts, her psychological warfare. He would smile and nod and pretend her words didn't cut like knives, but he would remember every insult, every betrayal, every manipulative tear. he would store them away, building evidence, preparing for the day when he could finally show her that her biggest mistake was underestimating him. The sound of Amy's car pulling into the driveway sent Emma running to the window. "Mommy's home." "Go brush your teeth, sweetie," Jason said quietly. "The bus will be here soon." As Emma bounded upstairs, Jason squared his shoulders, preparing for whatever new humiliation Amy had planned. But something had changed inside him. Where there had been pain and confusion, now there was only cold determination. The front door opened, and Amy strutted in, still wearing last night's dress. Her makeup was smeared, her neck marked with what she clearly wanted him to see was a fresh hickey. She smirked at his disheveled appearance. "Rough night, honey?" Her voice dripped with false concern. "You look terrible. Maybe you should take a mental health day." Although, she laughed, that might hurt your chances for the next promotion you'll fail to get. Jason met her gaze steadily, his face expressionless. Something in his calm demeanor made her pause, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her perfect features. "Daddy, I'm ready for school," Emma called from upstairs. "Coming, princess." Jason turned away from Amy without a word, leaving her standing in the foyer. Her victory somehow feeling less complete than she'd planned. He didn't see the flash of anger that crossed her face, the way her hands clenched into fists at being dismissed. But he felt her eyes boring into his back as he climbed the stairs, felt her fury at his failure to break down or beg or fight. Little did she know, this was just the beginning. The real fight was yet to come. Sleep eluded Jason as dawn approached. He'd spent the night in his office chair, his mind a tornado of dark thoughts and painful memories. The house creaked and settled around him, each sound a reminder of Amy's absence. Her declaration of an open marriage echoed in his head, along with the unspoken threat against his relationship with Emma. The first rays of morning sun painted his office walls when he heard the unmistakable sound of Amy's Mercedes pulling into the driveway. Not the tall lover she'd bragged about then. She'd taken their family car, their shared vehicle, to her rendezvous. Another calculated insult that Jason's legs felt like lead as he stood. His body screamed for rest, but his mind remained sharp, focused. He moved through the quiet house like a ghost, drawn inexorably toward their bedroom. The door stood slightly ajar, morning light spilling through the gap. What he saw through that gap shattered whatever remained of his world. Amy lay sprawled across their marriage bed, but not alone. A man Jason had never seen before lay beside her. Not the tall lover she'd taunted him about, but a stockier man with tribal tattoos snaking up his arms. They were both naked, the sheets tangled around their legs, the room reeking of sex and expensive liquor. "What the hell is this?" The words erupted from Jason's throat, explosive and raw. The man jerked awake, scrambling to gather his scattered clothes. Amy, however, merely stretched, cat-like and unashamed. Her eyes met Jason's, filled with cruel amusement. "Oh, good morning, honey." Her voice dripped honeyed venom. "Did you sleep well in your office chair? You look awful." "Get out," Jason snarled at the man, who was hastily pulling on his pants. "Get out!" The man grabbed his shirt and shoes, practically running from the room. The front door slammed moments later, leaving husband and wife locked in a silent battle of wills. Amy sat up slowly, deliberately not covering herself. Now, Jason, don't make a scene. You wouldn't want to wake Emma, would you?" "You said." He stopped, realizing how pathetic he sounded. What did it matter what she'd said? That she'd promised it would be the tall lover? Every word from her mouth was poison. Amy's expression turned calculating as she rose from the bed, moving toward him with predatory grace. "Listen carefully, loser. If you try to divorce me, you'll never see your kid again." Her voice dropped to a whisper, sharp as a blade. "I mean it, Jason. I'll take Emma so far away, you'll never find us." "Is that what you want?" The threat hit him like a physical blow. Jason staggered back, his vision blurring. The thought of losing Emma, of not seeing her grow up, of not being there to protect her from Amy's toxic influence, it was unbearable seeing his weakness. Amy's tactics shifted instantly. Tears welled up in her eyes as she pressed herself against him. "Baby, I'm so sorry," she whispered, her hands sliding under his shirt. "I was drunk. I made a mistake." You know I love you, right? Her touch, once electric, now felt like spiders crawling across his skin. But she persisted, pressing kisses along his jaw, whispering promises they both knew were lies. Let me make it up to you, she purred. I'll be better, I promise. Don't you still love me? Jason stood rigid as stone, his mind screaming at him to push her away, to run, to do anything but stay. But Emma's face floated before his eyes, her innocent smile, her complete trust in both her parents, her belief that her world was safe and secure. Daddy? Emma's voice drifted up from downstairs. Are you awake? I'm hungry. Amy stepped back, her tears vanishing as quickly as they'd appeared. A smirk played at the corners of her mouth. Better go feed our daughter, honey. Wouldn't want her to come up here and see anything inappropriate. Jason turned without a word, his feet carrying him downstairs on autopilot. Emma sat at the kitchen island in her favorite unicorn pajamas, swinging her legs and humming to herself. Can we have pancakes? She asked, her face lighting up at the sight of him. Please? You make the best pancakes. Of course, princess. Jason forced a smile, gathering ingredients with trembling hands. The simple act of measuring flour and cracking eggs helped steady him, gave him something to focus on besides the images burned into his brain. Amy sauntered into the kitchen 20 minutes later, wearing a silk robe and perfectly applied makeup. No trace remained of her wild night, save for a slight mark on her neck she'd deliberately left visible. Mommy! Emma jumped up to hug her. Daddy's making pancakes. Want some? No thanks, sweetie. Mommy needs her coffee first. Amy's eyes met Jason's over their daughter's head, challenging him to say something, anything about what had transpired, but Jason remained silent, flipping pancakes and listening to Emma chatter about her upcoming school day. Inside, though, something fundamental had shifted. The pain and humiliation of Amy's betrayal crystallized into something harder, colder. He would stay for now, would endure her mind games and manipulation, her cruel taunts and blatant affairs. He would smile and nod and play the dutiful husband, but every insult would be remembered, every betrayal catalogued, every manipulative tear noted and stored away. Amy thought she'd won, thought she'd broken him completely. She believed her threats and seduction had secured her power over him forever. She was wrong. This morning marked not an ending, but a beginning. The beginning of Jason's transformation from victim to victor. He would gather evidence, build his case piece by piece, prepare for the day when he could finally show Amy that her greatest mistake was underestimating him. The mask of submission he wore now was just that, a mask. Beneath it, a new Jason was emerging, one forged in the fires of betrayal and tempered by rage. One day, Amy would learn just how much she'd miscalculated, but for now, he made pancakes for his daughter, endured his wife's smirks, and began planning his revenge. 2 weeks after Amy's first blatant betrayal, Jason sat in his car outside their house, his hand hovering over his phone. Something felt wrong. Amy had been too quiet lately, too careful with her phone. The pattern was familiar, like a predator going still before the strike. That he pulled up the tracking app he'd secretly installed on their shared family plan. Amy's location showed she was at her yoga studio, but Jason had driven past there an hour ago. The lights were off, the parking lot empty. Enough games, he muttered, dialing Amy's number. IT rang 4 times before she answered. What? Her voice was sharp, irritated. Where are you? Yoga class, obviously. Some of us care about staying attractive for our spouse. In the background, Jason heard male laughter, then the clink of glasses. Funny, I just drove past the studio. It's closed. A pause. Then Amy's laugh, cruel and melodic. Are you spying on me now? How pathetic. Come home, Amy. Emma's asking for you. No, she's not. She's at her friend Katie's house for a sleepover. Try again, detective. Jason's grip tightened on the phone. We need to talk about this. About what? Your sad attempts at controlling me? Your desperate need to know my every move? Her voice dropped lower, vicious. Face it, Jason. You're just angry because you know I can do better. That I am doing better. This isn't about me. It's about our family. Family? She laughed again. Let me make something clear. You're not my family. You're my burden, my mistake, My daily reminder of settling for mediocrity. The only reason you're still in my life is Emma. If that's how you feel, then let's end this. Clean divorce, shared custody. Try it. Her voice turned to ice. I'll destroy you. My family's lawyers will bury you so deep in legal fees, you'll be living in your car. You'll be lucky if you get supervised visits with Emma once a month. The threat hung between them, heavy and real. Jason knew her family's connections, their ruthless reputation in legal circles. Now, Amy continued, sweetness dripping like poison. Unless you want to start that process tonight, stop calling me. I'm busy. With who? The words escaped before he could stop them. Wouldn't you like to know? He heard her smile. Let's just say he makes your salary look like pocket change. And he knows how to please a woman. The line went dead. Jason sat in his car, letting the rage and humiliation wash over him. Then, with deliberate calmness, he opened his browser and typed, Hidden Camera's Best Brands. An hour later, he entered their empty house, carrying a small package. Amy's games had pushed him to this surveillance equipment that would either confirm his suspicions or grant him peace of mind. As he read the installation instructions, his phone buzzed with a text from Amy. Don't wait up. Having drinks with a friend, attached was a photo of her at an upscale bar, pressed against a man in an expensive suit. Her wedding ring was clearly visible on the hand she placed on his chest. Another message followed. He says, I'm too good for you. Smart man. Jason deleted the messages, his resolve hardening. He spent the next 2 hours carefully installing tiny cameras in their bedroom and living room, making sure they were completely hidden. Around midnight, his phone buzzed again. A text from Katie's mom. Emma's having a blast. They're doing makeovers and watching Disney movies. Such sweet girls. At least his daughter was happy, protected from the toxic reality of her parents' marriage. He'd keep it that way. Shield her from Amy's destructive behavior, no matter the cost to his own dignity. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway drew his attention. He moved to his office, opening his laptop to test the camera feeds. They worked perfectly, showing their bedroom from 2 discrete angles. Amy's heels clicked on the hardwood floors downstairs. She was talking to someone. Come on up. Her voice drifted through the house. My husband's probably hiding in his cave like always. Male footsteps followed her up the stairs. Not Tom this time. The footsteps were too heavy. Another new conquest. Then Jason's office door burst open. Amy stood there, wrapped in a dress that cost more than his monthly car payment. Behind her loomed a man built like a linebacker, his expensive suit barely containing his muscles. Oh look, I was right. Amy purred. The little mouse is in his hole. She draped herself against the doorframe. Jason, meet Marcus. He owns that new luxury high-rise downtown. Marcus didn't offer his hand. His eyes swept the modest office with obvious disdain. So, this is the famous husband? Thought you'd be more. Didn't we all? Amy laughed. But we're being rude, honey. Don't you want to say hello to our guest? Jason met her gaze steadily. Get out of my office. Something flickered in Amy's eyes, anger at his defiance. She recovered quickly, running her hands over Marcus's chest. See what I have to live with? No passion, no fire. Just a weak little man playing office in his cave. Let's give him a show, Marcus growled, pulling her closer. Show him how a real man handles a woman. Not here, Amy pushed him back playfully. Our room is more comfortable. They disappeared down the hall, Amy's laughter echoing like broken glass. Moments later, the camera feed showed them entering the master bedroom. Jason closed his laptop before they could start their performance. He didn't need to watch. The evidence was already recording. Another piece of ammunition for the war to come. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Love you, Daddy. Katie's mom made cookies. Miss you. Attached was a photo of her beaming face, chocolate smeared on her cheek, pure joy radiating from her smile. Jason stared at it for a long moment, letting his daughter's innocence wash away some of his darkness. Love you too, princess, he texted back. Have fun. Sweet dreams. Then he opened his laptop again, started a new document, and began typing. Evidence log date. Current date. Every betrayal, every cruel word, every manipulation would be recorded. Every piece of proof gathered and stored. Amy thought she was untouchable. She thought her family's money and connections made her invincible. She was wrong. The cameras were just the beginning. Soon, he'd have enough evidence to bury her, to prove she was an unfit mother, to expose every cruel game she'd played, but for now, he typed and waited, letting Amy believe she'd won another round. Her victory would make her careless, overconfident, and that would be her downfall. Jason waited 3 days before checking the camera footage. Each night, Amy had brought home a different man, each one more arrogant than the last. But it wasn't enough evidence. He needed more, needed to prove a pattern of behavior that would convince even the most biased judge. One morning, while Amy was in the shower, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A moment of carelessness. She never left it unattended. Jason glanced at the bathroom door, hearing the water still running, then picked up the device. The screen showed a message preview. Last night was amazing. Your husband doesn't suspect. His fingers trembled as he entered the passcode Emma's birthday. Ironically, the phone unlocked, revealing a world of betrayal far deeper than he'd imagined. Found anything interesting? Amy's voice cut through the silence. Jason turned. She stood in the doorway, wearing only a towel, water dripping from her hair, a predatory smile on her face. How many? He held up the phone, showing the dozens of explicit message threads. Oh, honey. She stepped closer, not bothering to adjust the slipping towel. Why do you do this to yourself? Spying on my phone like some pathetic, jealous teenager? Answer the question, Amy. Or what? Her smile widened. You'll leave me? Take Emma? Please. She laughed, the sound echoing off the kitchen tiles. You know what the courts will see? A controlling, paranoid husband who violates his wife's privacy. A man so insecure he installs spy apps on her phone. Jason's head snapped up. How did you? Give me some credit. She plucked the phone from his hand. I saw you watching me, following me, checking my location. Her voice turned mocking. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I'm as stupid as you? This isn't about intelligence, Amy. It's about respect. Our marriage. Our marriage. She threw her head back, laughing. Let me show you what I think of our marriage. She opened her phone, scrolling through messages. Here's Robert telling me how good I taste. Here's Marcus sending videos of what we did in your bed. Here's David planning our next hotel meetup. Stop it. Why? Can't handle the truth. She thrust the phone in his face. Look at these pictures. See how a real man makes me feel. See what you'll never be. Jason pushed the phone away. We have a daughter. Yes, we do. Our sweet, innocent Emma. Amy's voice turned sinister. Who would be devastated if her daddy suddenly couldn't see her anymore? If he had to move far away because he couldn't afford the lawyers to fight for custody? Is that a threat? That's a promise. She stepped closer, dropping her towel completely. Now, you have 2 choices. Keep playing detective and lose everything, or... Her hand traced his chest. Accept your place and keep your daughter. You're sick. No, I'm honest. More honest than you've ever been. She pressed against him. Deep down you like this. Being humiliated, controlled. It's all you deserve. Jason remained stone-faced. Get dressed. Emma will be up soon. There's my obedient little cuck. Amy patted his cheek condescendingly. Good boy. Now delete those spy apps and forget what you saw. Or next time, I'll make sure Emma walks in on one of my meetings. She sauntered away, leaving her phone deliberately on the counter. A new message popped up. Ready for round 2 tonight, sexy? Jason stared at the device, his rage building to a dangerous crescendo. Then, slowly, methodically, he pulled out his own phone and took photos of every message thread, every explicit image, every piece of evidence. Amy thought she was being clever, flaunting her affairs. She didn't realize she was giving him exactly what he needed. Emma's voice drifted down from upstairs. Daddy, can you help me with my hair? Coming, princess. He quickly emailed the photos to a secure account, then deleted them from his phone later that day. His lawyer's voice was grim over the phone. This is good evidence, Jason, but we need more. Her family will claim the messages are fake, doctored. What do you suggest? Keep gathering proof. Videos, witnesses, anything that shows a pattern. And Jason, the lawyer paused. Be careful. Women like your wife, they get dangerous when cornered. That evening, Amy strutted through the house in another revealing outfit, getting ready for another night out. Don't forget parent-teacher conference tomorrow, Jason said quietly. Handle it yourself. Amy checked her makeup in the hall mirror. I have a date with that new surgeon from Memorial Hospital. He has the most amazing penthouse. Emma's been asking about you. She misses her mother. Amy's eyes met his in the mirror. Are you trying to make me feel guilty? Please. She applied another coat of lipstick. Emma has you to play house with. I have better things to do. Like destroying our family. No, like living my life. She turned, eyes flashing. This sad, little suburban existence might be enough for you. But I deserve more. I deserve excitement, passion, men who can actually satisfy me. Then why stay? Her smile turned cruel. Because watching you suffer brings me joy. Because knowing you can't do anything about it makes me wet. She stepped closer. Because destroying you piece by piece is the most fun I've had in years. The doorbell rang. Amy's smile widened. That's Kevin. Yes, another new one. Don't worry. I'll try to keep the noise down. She opened the door, revealing a young executive type. Or maybe I won't. Sweet dreams, loser. Jason watched them leave, then went to check on Emma. She sat on her bed, clutching Mr. Whiskers, tears in her eyes. Why doesn't Mommy want to spend time with me anymore? The question broke his heart. He sat beside her, pulling her close. Mommy's going through some things right now. But I'm here. I'll always be here. Promise. Promise, princess. He kissed her forehead, his resolve strengthening. Try to sleep. I'll make chocolate chip pancakes in the morning. After Emma fell asleep, Jason returned to his office. He opened his laptop, reviewing the growing collection of evidence. Videos from the hidden cameras, screenshots of messages, photos of Amy entering hotels with different men soon. Soon he'd have enough to bury her, to prove she was an unfit mother, to win custody, and protect Emma from Amy's toxic influence, but not yet. For now, he had to endure, had to let Amy think she was winning, let her grow more careless, more blatant in her betrayals. His phone buzzed. A text from Amy, having such a wild night. Kevin's friend Mark joined us. Want pictures? Jason didn't respond. Instead, he opened his evidence log and added another entry. Another nail in Amy's coffin. She thought she was destroying him. She didn't realize she was giving him the weapons for her own destruction. The evidence mounted day by day. Videos, messages, hotel receipts, each piece another link in the chain Jason was forging. But Amy grew bolder, more reckless, as if daring him to act. Her latest game involved leaving explicit photos where Emma might find them. What's wrong with you? Jason confronted her one evening, holding up a graphic photo he'd found on the kitchen table. Emma could have seen this. Amy lounged on the couch, scrolling through her phone. Oops, must have dropped it. Her smile said otherwise. Did you like it? Marcus has quite the photography skills. This has to stop. Or what? She sat up, eyes glittering with malice. You'll do something about it? Please. We both know you don't have the spine. I'm warning you, Amy. You're warning me? She stood, closing the distance between them. Let me remind you of something, little man. I own you. Your pathetic existence continues only because I allow it. Heavy footsteps descended the stairs. A muscular man in his 30s appeared, straightening his tie. Babe, that was amazing. Your husband really doesn't mind? Amy's smile turned predatory. Mind? No, Jackson. Jason here loves knowing his wife is satisfied by real men. Don't you, honey? Jason's hands clenched into fists. Get out of my house. Your house. Jackson laughed. Amy tells me her family bought this place. Says you're just the live-in help. Actually, Amy purred, running her hands over Jackson's chest. He's more like our personal audience. Gets him excited, watching real men please his wife. I said get out? Or what? Jackson stepped forward, towering over Jason. You'll do something about it? Come on, tough guy. Show me what a paper-pushing cuck can do. Emma's voice cut through the tension. Daddy? I heard shouting. Jason's rage froze in his veins. Go back to bed, princess. Everything's fine. Yes, sweetie. Amy called up, her voice dripping false sweetness. Mommy's just having a grown-up conversation. Is that her? Jackson whispered. The kid you mentioned? Amy's eyes never left Jason's face. our little bargaining chip. The threat hung heavy in the air. Jason stepped aside, letting Jackson pass. The front door opened and closed, leaving husband and wife locked in silent warfare. "You disgust me," Jason said quietly. "No." Amy moved closer, her perfume overwhelming. "I fascinate you. Every man I take to our bed, every moan that echoes through these walls, it reminds you of what you'll never be. You're sick. I'm free." She traced a finger down his chest. "Free to take what I want when I want it. And you." Her laugh was hollow. "You're trapped. By your weakness, your mediocrity, and most of all, by her." She glanced upstairs. "Our sweet, innocent Emma. The chains that bind you to me forever." 3 days later, Jason came home early from work. The house felt wrong, too quiet, yet charged with anticipation. Emma was at her weekly dance class. Safely away from whatever new humiliation Amy had planned, music drifted from upstairs, along with sounds that made his blood boil. He climbed the steps slowly, each footfall heavy with dread and rage. The master bedroom door stood wide open. Amy lay in their marriage bed with not one, but 2 men. The scene was deliberately choreographed, positioned to be visible from the doorway. She noticed Jason immediately, but didn't stop. Instead, she locked eyes with him, her smile widening as she continued her performance. "Look who's home early," she purred between moans. "Come to watch the show?" The men turned, but rather than embarrassment, their faces showed only amusement. "This the husband?" one asked, his hands still roaming Amy's body. "The one you told us about?" Amy's eyes never left Jason's face. "My little cuck, always so eager to watch real men satisfy his wife." "No one respects you," the other man laughed. "Pathetic little man, standing there while we... Get out." Jason's voice was deadly quiet. "Make us..." Amy writhed between them. "Show everyone how strong you are, how much of a man you can be." Her laugh was cruel. "Oh wait, you can't. Because the moment you try, the moment you step out of line..." She let the threat hang. Jason stood perfectly still, his face expressionless. Then, without a word, he turned and walked away. "That's right," Amy called after him. "Run away like always. Hide in your cave while real men please your wife." He entered his office, closed the door, and sat at his desk. The sounds from the bedroom grew louder, Amy making sure he could hear every moment of her betrayal. But something had changed. Where there had been pain, now there was only cold determination. Where humiliation had burned, now there was just calculated patience. His phone buzzed. A text from Emma's dance teacher. "Class running 15 minutes late today. The girls are perfecting their routine." Jason opened his laptop, adding today's incident to his evidence log. The file was massive now, a digital record of every betrayal, every cruel word, every manipulation. Amy thought she'd won. Thought she'd broken him completely. She was wrong. This wasn't surrender. This was preparation. Every moan that echoed through the house, every degrading comment, every flaunted affair, they were all just more ammunition soon. He'd have enough evidence to destroy her completely. To prove she was an unfit mother. To expose every cruel game she'd played, but not yet. For now, he would endure. Would let her think her performance had achieved its goal, because Amy had made one critical mistake. She'd pushed him past caring about his own pride. Past caring about anything except protecting Emma and securing his revenge, and that made him more dangerous than she could possibly imagine. Jason spent the next month meticulously building his case. Each camera feed, every explicit message, all hotel receipts organized and cataloged with surgical precision. But Amy's latest behavior provided the final piece he needed. She'd started taking money for her encounters. "Another shopping spree?" Jason asked one evening, reviewing their bank statements. Large cash deposits appeared regularly, always after her dates. Amy sprawled on the couch, counting several $100 bills. "Jealous?" "Marcus was very generous today. Said I'm worth every penny." "You're taking money now?" "Why not?" She smiled, cruel and confident. "These men have plenty to spend. And unlike some people, they understand my worth. Does Tom know? Or Jackson, that you're charging the others?" Her eyes narrowed. Careful, Jason. You're asking dangerous questions. Just trying to understand your business model. Business model? She stood stalking toward him. You think you're clever? Think you can provoke me? Not at all. Just curious how it works. The pricing, the scheduling. He kept his voice neutral. Must be complicated. Juggling so many clients. Listen carefully. You pathetic excuse for a man. She grabbed his chin, forcing him to look at her. What I do, who I do it with, and what they pay me is none of your concern. Your only job is to stay quiet and keep playing house with Emma. And if I don't, her laugh was hollow, then I'll make sure the only way you see our daughter is through supervised visits at a state facility. She released him roughly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a dinner date with Richard. He's paying triple for an overnight. After she left, Jason called his lawyer. I need to meet. First thing tomorrow. I have everything we need. The money angle changes things. His lawyer confirmed the next morning, reviewing the evidence. She's not just committing adultery now. There's a paper trail. What about her family's influence? They're powerful, but not above the law. These videos, the bank records, the text messages arranging payment. The lawyer smiled grimly. No judge can ignore this. Not even one on her family's payroll. In custody? With this evidence? She's demonstrated a pattern of bringing strange men into the home, exposing your daughter to inappropriate situations. The money aspect makes it worse. I'd say we have an excellent chance of full custody. Jason nodded slowly. How long to prepare the filing? Give me 2 days. But Jason, the lawyer leaned forward. Once we file, all hell will break loose. She'll come at you with everything she has. Good? Jason's voice was cold. Let her try. That evening, Amy sauntered into his office, wearing another new dress that probably cost more than his monthly salary. Miss me today? How was Richard? Generous. She smirked, waving an envelope. Want to count it? Since you're so interested in my business model. Does he know about Marcus? Or is he paying extra for exclusivity? Her eyes flashed. You really want to play this game? No game. Just wondering if your clients know they're sharing. Might affect their willingness to pay premium rates. You smug little? She caught herself, smile turning predatory. Oh, I see. You think you have something on me? Think you can threaten me? Not at all. Just making conversation. Let me remind you of something. She perched on his desk, legs crossed deliberately. I have recordings too, of you agreeing to our arrangement, wanting to watch, asking for details. You mean the recordings where you threatened to take Emma if I don't comply? Those recordings? For the first time, uncertainty flickered across her face. Then she laughed, but it sounded forced. Please. No one would believe you. Poor, weak Jason. The eternal victim. We'll see. Are you threatening me? No threat. Just a fact. He met her gaze steadily. We'll see what people believe. She stood abruptly. You know what? I'm done playing nice. You want to make threats? Fine. But remember you started this. Actually, Amy, you started this years ago. He turned back to his computer. I'm just finishing it. You'll regret this, she hissed. I'll destroy you. You already tried that. How'd it work out? She stormed out, slamming the door. Minutes later, her car roared out of the driveway. Jason opened his laptop, reviewing the footage from their conversation. Another piece of evidence showing her true nature, her attempts at manipulation. His phone buzzed. A text from Amy, meeting Richard and his friends. Going to tell them all about my pathetic husband. Maybe send you some videos of what real men look like. He added the text to his evidence file, then called Emma's friend's mother. Katie's mom? Jason here. Would it be okay if Emma stayed another night? Something's come up. Of course. The girls are having so much fun. Thanks. I want her away from here tonight, because tomorrow, everything would change. The papers were ready. The evidence compiled. The trap was set. Amy thought she was untouchable. Thought her family's money and connections made her invincible. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The divorce papers landed on Amy's desk like a bomb. She sat in her family's lawyer's office, face growing paler with each page she turned. The evidence attached was damning screenshots, bank records, video stills carefully selected to prove her infidelity while remaining appropriate for court filing. This is nothing, she said, but but her voice trembled. Daddy's lawyers will destroy him. Her family's attorney, Maxwell Bennett, cleared his throat. Mrs. Carter, this is extensive. The video evidence alone. He recorded me without consent. That's illegal. In your marital bedroom, where there's no expectation of privacy. And the audio captures you explicitly acknowledging the cameras. Maxwell shifted uncomfortably. Plus the financial records. What about them? Amy's voice rose. So, I got some gifts from friends. That's not. These aren't gifts, Mrs. Carter. There's a clear pattern of solicitation and payment. Multiple partners, hotel receipts, bank deposits. He spread several documents on the desk. Your husband's lawyer has built a strong case. Then build a stronger one. That's what Daddy pays you for. Mrs. Carter, Maxwell leaned forward. Your father's influence can accomplish many things. But these videos, the text messages arranging payments, your recorded threats regarding custody, no judge can ignore this level of evidence. Then pay them more. The risk of exposure would be... I don't care about risk. Amy stood, pacing the office. I want him destroyed. I want him broke and homeless, and you should care about risk. Jason's voice came from the doorway. He entered with his lawyer, Robert Mitchell. Especially now? You. Amy lunged toward him, but Maxwell caught her arm. How dare you come here? Mrs. Carter, Robert said smoothly. We're here to discuss settlement terms. Settlement? She laughed, brittle and sharp. You think I'm going to settle? With him? Amy. Maxwell's voice was firm. You should listen. No. I will not let this pathetic excuse for a man dictate terms to me. Do you know what he is? A weak, spineless, full custody. Jason cut in. That's my primary term. Over my dead body. The evidence shows you bringing multiple sexual partners into the family home. Robert continued calmly. Explicit acts recorded where your daughter could have walked in. Text messages showing you prioritizing these encounters over parent-teacher conferences, school events. I am an excellent mother. The court won't see it that way, Maxwell said quietly. Not with this evidence. Then we'll appeal. Drag it out for years. During which time, Robert added, these videos and messages might accidentally leak to your father's business associates. I understand he's pursuing that merger with the conservative family from Texas. Amy froze. You wouldn't dare. Try me? Jason's voice was ice. You taught me well, Amy. About leverage. About using someone's weaknesses against them. I'll tell everyone you abused me. That you forced me into. With what evidence? Robert spread more papers on the desk. We have recordings of you bragging about your affairs. Laughing about them. Threatening to take Emma if your husband didn't comply. Those recordings could be damaging to both parties. Maxwell noted carefully. We're willing to risk it. Jason stepped closer to Amy. Are you? You can't do this to me. Her voice cracked. I'm Amy fucking Carter. Do you know who my family is? Yes. And so do the partners at your father's firm. The ones pursuing that family values merger. Want to see how they react to videos of you taking money for sex? You bastard. She swung at him, but Jason caught her wrist easily. Careful, he said softly. Assault charges wouldn't help your case. Mrs. Carter. Maxwell's voice was urgent. I strongly advise you to consider their terms. No, Daddy will. Your father can't fix this. Maxwell pulled out his phone. In fact, he's instructed me to handle this. Quietly. What? Amy's face went white. He knows? I sent him selected excerpts of the evidence. Jason's smile was cold. He seemed particularly interested in the financial aspects. Something about protecting the family's reputation. Amy collapsed into her chair, her carefully constructed world crumbling. This can't be happening. Full custody, Robert repeated. Supervised visitation only, at our client's discretion. The house goes to Jason. Your father's firm will handle the division of assets, quietly. And if I refuse, then we go to court. Jason moved to the door. And everything, every video, every message, every paid encounter becomes public record. I'll destroy you, Amy whispered, but the words lacked conviction. No. Jason paused in the doorway. You already tried that. For years, you tried to break me, humiliate me, tear me down. But you made one mistake. What's that? You thought fear of losing Emma made me weak. It made me patient, strategic. His eyes met hers. You taught me well, Amy. About power, about revenge, about winning at all costs. Jason, wait. She stood as he turned to leave. We can fix this. Us. Our marriage. I'll change, I'll save it. He didn't look back. Your games don't work anymore. Alone with her lawyer, Amy's facade crumbled completely. He can't do this. He's nothing. A nobody. He's not nothing anymore. Maxwell gathered the papers grimly. He's the man holding all the cards. And Mrs. Carter? He paused. He learned from the best. Outside, Jason met his lawyer at the car. Think she'll sign? After her father sees the full evidence? She won't have a choice. Robert smiled. You played this perfectly, Jason. Patient. Methodical. I had a good teacher. Jason checked his phone. A text from Emma's friend's mother. Girls are baking cookies. Want us to save you some? Yes, please, he typed back. I'll pick her up tonight. Things are settling down at home. And they were. The trap had sprung perfectly. Amy's carefully constructed world of power and control was collapsing. And she'd helped build every piece of evidence that destroyed her. She thought she was the master manipulator, the unstoppable force. She was wrong. The courthouse loomed before them, its stone facade a monument to justice. Amy refused to sign the settlement, convinced her family's influence would save her. Now, on the morning of their hearing, Jason watched her stride into the building surrounded by an army of expensive lawyers, her head held high with familiar arrogance. Ready for this? Robert Mitchell asked quietly. I've been ready for months. Jason straightened his tie. Everything in place? Videos queued up. Witnesses prepared. Financial records organized. Robert patted his briefcase. We have enough evidence to bury her 10 times over. Inside the courtroom, Amy sat at her table, whispering furiously with her lawyers. She wore a conservative dress, playing the role of devoted mother and wronged wife. When Jason entered, she shot him a venomous glare. All rise. The bailiff called as Judge Catherine Martinez entered. She was known for her no-nonsense approach and immunity to political pressure, exactly why Jason's team had maneuvered to get her assigned to the case. Your Honor, Amy's lead attorney began. My client is the victim of a calculated campaign of surveillance and harassment by her controlling husband. Objection. Your Honor. Robert stood. Counsel is editorializing. We haven't presented any evidence yet. Sustained. Judge Martinez's eyes narrowed. Save the dramatics for your argument, counselor. Present your case. Amy's team started with character witnesses, country club friends testifying to her maternal devotion, business associates praising her moral character. Each one crumbled under cross-examination as Robert presented their own text messages with Amy, revealing their knowledge of her affairs. Mr. Mitchell, Judge Martinez interrupted during one particularly devastating cross-examination. Where did you obtain these messages? From the witnesses' phones, Your Honor. Voluntarily provided once they realized continuing to lie under oath would make them accessories. Amy's face went pale. She grabbed her lawyer's arm, whispering frantically. Your Honor, her attorney stood. We request a brief recess to. Denied. Judge Martinez's voice was steel. Continue, Mr. Mitchell. Robert called their first witness, Marcus, one of Amy's frequent lovers. She smirked, clearly expecting him to lie for her. Her smile vanished as he detailed their arrangement, the payments, the videos they made, her bragging about manipulating Jason. She said it was her favorite game, Marcus testified, breaking him down, making him watch, threatening to take his daughter if he objected. And the payments? Robert prompted, $2,000 per session. More if she brought friends. Marcus wouldn't meet Amy's murderous gaze. She recorded everything. Said it was insurance. Insurance against what? Against her husband growing a spine. Her words, not mine. Amy launched to her feet. You lying bastard. You promised. Mrs. Carter. Judge Martinez's gavel cracked like thunder. Control yourself, or I'll have you removed. The evidence mounted inexorably. Hotel staff testified about Amy's rotating cast of partners. Bank records showed suspicious deposits matching her dates. Text messages revealed her cruel manipulation of Jason, using Emma as leverage. Then came the videos. Your Honor, Robert approached the bench. The following footage was recorded legally in the Carter residence. While explicit content has been edited out, the audio clearly demonstrates Mrs. Carter's pattern of behavior. The courtroom screens lit up. Amy in their bedroom, taunting Jason. You'll never see Emma again if you don't play along. Amy, bringing multiple partners home. Let's give my pathetic husband a show. Amy, on the phone, arranging payments. $2,000 cash, up front. Hotels extra. With each clip, Amy seemed to physically shrink, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. Your Honor, her lawyer tried desperately. These recordings were made without consent. In a shared marital bedroom, Robert countered, where Mrs. Carter explicitly acknowledged the camera's presence. As evidenced by this clip, another video played. Amy, staring directly into a camera. Like what you see, Jason? Better keep quiet about it, or Emma gets a new address far, far away. Judge Martinez's expression grew stormier with each piece of evidence. Mrs. Carter approached the bench. Amy stood on shaky legs. Gone was her usual confident strut, replaced by uncertain steps. Mrs. Carter, the judge's voice could have frozen fire. Are you aware that using a minor child as leverage in this manner constitutes emotional abuse? Your Honor, I never. Don't. Judge Martinez held up a hand. The evidence is overwhelming. You've committed adultery, engaged in prostitution, exposed a minor to inappropriate situations, and used that same minor as a weapon against her father. The only reason you're not facing criminal charges is your husband's restraint. Amy turned to Jason, her mask finally cracking completely. Please, she whispered. We can fix this. You still love me, don't you? We can. Mrs. Carter, the judge's voice cracked like a whip. Return to your seat. The ruling was devastating in its totality. Full custody awarded to Jason. The house, the assets, everything he'd asked for granted. Amy's visitation rights? Supervised only, pending psychological evaluation. Your Honor, Amy's lawyer made a last attempt. We intend to appeal. On what grounds? Judge Martinez's tone could have etched steel. The evidence is overwhelming. Further appeals would only make it more public. I suggest your client accept this ruling before additional details find their way in a public record. Amy sat frozen as the courtroom emptied. Her expensive lawyers fled like rats from a sinking ship, leaving only Jason, Robert, and a handful of observers. Jason, wait. She hurried after him in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. Please, we can work this out. I'll change. I'll be better. You know I love... Stop. Jason turned, his voice devoid of emotion. Your games don't work anymore. The manipulation, the tears, the promises, they're all just weapons to you. And you've lost your leverage? What about Emma? She needs her mother. She needs stability, safety, love without conditions. He stepped closer, voice dropping. Everything you're incapable of providing. I'll destroy you for this, she hissed, mask slipping to reveal the familiar cruelty. Somehow, someday I'll make you pay. No, Amy, you won't. He smiled coldly. Because if you try anything at all, the unedited versions of those videos go public. Your father's business partners, his conservative friends, everyone will see exactly what kind of person you are. You'll lose the last scraps of your reputation, your family support, everything. She staggered back as if struck. You can't. I learned from the best. He turned away. Goodbye, Amy. Emma's dance recital is next week. Your supervised visitation starts after that. Don't be late. It won't look good to the court. Jason walked away, leaving Amy collapsed on a courthouse bench, her perfectly constructed world shattered around her. The power games, the manipulation, the cruel dominance she'd wielded like a weapon, all of it turned against her with surgical precision. She thought she was untouchable, thought her family's money and influence made her invincible. She was wrong. That in the end, her greatest weapon, her ability to manipulate and control through fear, became the instrument of her own destruction. Every cruel game, every recorded threat, every moment of sadistic pleasure she'd taken in breaking him down. They all helped forge the weapon that destroyed her outside. The sun shone brilliantly. Jason checked his phone. A text from Emma. "Can't wait to see you, Daddy. I made you a special drawing." He smiled, a genuine smile, untainted by pain or fear. "On my way, Princess. Everything's going to be better now." And it would be. The nightmare was over. The web of deceit Amy had woven so carefully had become her own trap, and Jason was finally completely free.
Story 4.
Allow me to share some background about my wife and me. I'm Shane, aged 45, and my wife is Carrie, aged 44. We've been married for 23 years and have a daughter named Casey, who is currently in her final semester of college. Casey has always brought immense joy into our lives and is pursuing a degree in education with the goal of becoming a math teacher. I grew up on a ranch in a small Texas town, where I worked diligently while still finding time for sports, rodeos, and socializing. Following high school, I pursued a college education in agriculture with aspirations of becoming a high school agricultural teacher. Given my parents' limited finances, I worked part-time to help support our family. During my last semester of college, my parents decided to retire and sold the ranch, opting for a modest home in town. Tragically, they were both eliminated in a car accident on their way back from my graduation. Being their only child, I inherited the proceeds from the sale, which amounted to around $400,000, a surprising revelation since they had never disclosed the exact amount to me. The following months were exceptionally challenging as I mourned the loss of my parents, particularly given the suddenness of their passing. However, I persevered through my grief and, in August, seized an opportunity to teach agricultural science at a high school just outside Austin. I also decided to utilize my inheritance to purchase a quaint 25-acre ranch on the outskirts of town. Here, I constructed a modern log cabin, a horse barn, and a training ring for the horses I planned to acquire, along with investing in some cattle. While I wasn't actively seeking a spouse, I was open to the idea of finding someone to share my life and dreams of starting a family. Approximately a month into the school year, I met Carrie through a setup arranged by my mentor teacher. Initially, I was hesitant, but I figured it was worth a shot, given my circumstances. When Carrie answered the door, I was immediately struck by her incredible beauty. Our first date, which included dinner and drinks, went smoothly, and I felt a strong connection with Carrie. As we conversed on her balcony later that evening, I couldn't help but wonder why such an exceptional woman was still single. Carrie echoed my sentiments, complimenting my attributes and expressing her attraction. Blushing, I admitted that I had never felt this way about anyone before, and that there was something truly special about her. "Well, Shane, thank you. I can relate. Most of the men I've dated were either clueless or inappropriate. I've never encountered someone I wanted to seriously commit to until tonight." I turned to her, and as our eyes met, we shared a kiss. It wasn't an overly aggressive, messy French kiss, but a gentle, tender one. We lingered in that embrace for several minutes. Then I spoke up. "Look, Carrie, I'd like to see you again. We don't have to rush into anything, but I'm interested in seeing where this goes. I want to truly understand you before we... Well, you know, Shane, you're one of the sweetest men I've ever met. You were a true gentleman. Most guys would already be trying to make moves," she interjected. I chuckled and replied, "I'd be lying if I said that thought hadn't crossed my mind. You're incredibly beautiful and alluring. However, I hold you in high regard. Despite our recent meeting, I'm looking to build a meaningful relationship, not just a fleeting encounter." She leaned in for another kiss before saying, "Me too. Shane, you're one of a kind, and I'm eager to get to know you better." Carrie came from a modest background where college wasn't financially feasible. Opting for vocational training in administrative secretarial skills, she had been employed by a successful small business in Austin for the past few years. Over the next several months, we grew close and fell in love. About 4 weeks after our first date, we shared our first cozy moment. It was passionate and intense, happening in the front seat of my truck after a movie. We barely made it to the truck before our desires took over. The windows fogged up, and the truck rocked as we experienced simultaneous euphoria. Carrie's fervor was undeniable, filling the cab with her cries of pleasure. We retreated to my home, spending the night entwined in each other's arms. It was a night of profound connection and passion, solidifying our love. In March, she moved in with me, and by June 1st, we were married. A little over a year later, Casey arrived, and for the next 23 years, we enjoyed a blissful family life. Though not affluent, we were content. Our bed life remained vibrant, with Carrie's passion never wavering, and neither did mine. Admittedly, over the past 5 or 6 months, our closeness had slowed, but the spark still seemed present. Or did it? Here's the situation 23 years later. About half a year back, Carrie landed a fresh job as the executive secretary for the CEO and proprietor of BRB Enterprises. Her employer, Benjamin Brockman, owned a manufacturing firm specializing in high-end electronics for the U.S. government. Given his considerable wealth, I assumed his company was thriving, especially since he was its sole owner. Carrie seemed quite fond of her new position and often spoke highly of her boss, Ben. Initially, I felt a twinge of jealousy until I met him. At 58 years old, he was balding and overweight, making me feel like a model compared to him. When I queried Carrie about it, she laughed, reassuring me that no one could hold a candle to me, babe. She frequently expressed her appreciation for our cozy moments, which eased my concerns. However, my unease resurfaced when Carrie began accompanying him on business trips lasting 2 or 3 days. Despite my inquiries, she dismissed them as routine work duties, insisting that she had her own accommodations and that they were entirely focused on business matters. Although still somewhat apprehensive, Carrie gave me no cause for doubt, so I refrained from further discussion. That brings me to that pivotal Friday. After returning home from school, I headed straight for the barn, where I'd been for about an hour when Carrie arrived. As she got out of her car and started walking toward the house, I called out, expressing my eagerness to see her and offering to prepare steaks for supper. Carrie, having been away on another 3-day business trip with her boss, glanced my way, but only nodded before entering the house. Inside, I grabbed a beer from the fridge and asked if she would prefer a beer or a glass of wine. She replied that a glass of wine would be lovely, still avoiding eye contact and staring at the floor. Sensing her unease, I brought her a glass of wine and placed the bottle beside her. Finally looking up at me, Carrie appeared troubled. After exchanging a kiss and hug, I inquired about what was wrong, noting her seeming distress. Carrie drained her wine glass in one gulp before pouring more, her actions betraying her inner turmoil. I reassured her, urging her to share what was on her mind, assuring her it couldn't be that bad. She responded, indicating the gravity of the situation and asking me to listen without interruption before continuing. With bated breath, I awaited her revelation, unprepared for what would come next. Shane, I need you to understand that I love you wholeheartedly. What I'm about to say isn't a reflection of you being inadequate as a husband, partner, friend, or father. You're the most incredible man I've ever known. As she spoke, I sensed this conversation was heading toward a life-altering revelation. Shane, I've made the decision to file for divorce. I'll be leaving immediately. Your concerns about Ben and me are valid. We've been having an affair for the past 5 months. He's fallen deeply in love with me, and we plan to marry once our divorce is finalized. We'll divide everything equally, but you'll keep the house, ranch, and all possessions. I'll only take my clothes and personal items. Pausing briefly, she allowed her words to sink in. Go ahead, I replied, surprisingly composed, despite the seething anger and profound hurt inside me. I'll file for a divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Let's make this process as swift, straightforward, and painless as possible, she continued, giving me an opportunity to respond. And respond I did. Carrie, do you love Ben? I respect him and find him intriguing. Perhaps I'll come to love him in time. Carrie, does Ben fulfill you physically more than I do? Is he a better lover? Were you dissatisfied with our closeness? No, Shane. He doesn't even come close. You've always been a fantastic lover, and I've always been satisfied by you, she reassured. Have I mistreated you? Are you unhappy with me? I'm struggling to comprehend why you're ending our marriage and breaking up our family. Carrie, I'm genuinely confused, I admitted. Shane, when I'm kind to Ben, he lavishes me with extravagant gifts. He loves me deeply and enjoys demonstrating his appreciation. He believes marrying him would provide a life of ease, free from work and abundant in luxury, fancy cars, global travel, designer clothes, and fine dining, she explained. So this is about money? You're trading up for a wealthy man? Well, Carrie, there's a word for what you're doing. And it starts with app, I retorted bitterly. Carrie protested tearfully, insisting that she was not a call girls. She expressed regret for causing me pain, but explained her decision to pursue the opportunity to marry a wealthy man. I responded, conveying the immense pain her actions were causing me. I expressed my disappointment, recounting the 23 years of hard work and dedication I had given to provide for her, offering everything from love and affection to my heart and soul. Apologizing for not meeting her expectations with my income, I requested some time alone, and informed her that I would be in the barn while she packed, sensing Carrie's remorse. But her focus seemed fixed on her newfound wealth. As I sat on a bale of hay in the barn, I felt an overwhelming surge of emotion. This was different. This time tears streamed down my face. I rarely cried. My father had taught me that men don't. Yet, in that moment, I felt like utter despair. What could I have done differently? Was this my fault? These thoughts pierced my heart as I wept, realizing this would be the last time Carrie would bring me to tears. Carrie entered the barn, glanced at me, and exclaimed, "Oh my God, what have I done? Shane, you never cry. Have I hurt you that much? Oh, Shane, I am so sorry." Well, Carrie, out of nowhere you come home and drop the bombshell. You're wrecking our marriage, tearing our family apart, moving out, and filing for divorce. And for the past 5 months, you've been with another man. To top it off, you claim it's because I didn't earn enough money, yet you say you still love me. But it seems love means nothing to you anymore. Shane, I've got to go. Ben and I are flying to Paris early tomorrow. We'll be gone a few days. When I return, I'll start the divorce proceedings as soon as possible. You seem in a hurry to throw away our 23 years together. Have you considered Casey's reaction? I'll call her tonight. She'll understand. Ben has promised to buy her a new Mercedes and pay off her college loans, including the ones you took out. No thanks, Carrie. I can handle my own loans, and I doubt Casey can be bought like you have been. She gave me a strange look but remained silent. You better go, Carrie. But know that once you leave, it's final. I won't take you back. This spells disaster, so don't come crying to me. Oh, and make sure to please your sugar daddy tonight. I sensed she pondered my words for a moment. I thought she might reconsider. But then she bid, "Goodbye, Shane. I love you and will miss you." With a soft reply, I said, "I love you too, Carrie." After sitting down and shedding more tears, I eventually gathered myself and made a decision to move forward. Addressing my 2 horses, I acknowledged that they were now the only females left in my life and expressed my confidence in their loyalty. I walked over, petted them both, and they responded with nods and nudges. Heading back to my empty house, I grabbed another beer. About an hour later, Casey called. "Dad, are you okay? I just talked to Mom. Has she lost it? What's she thinking?" "She's hooked up with a sugar daddy and believes his wealth will bring her happiness." I replied, "I guess I couldn't fulfill all her desires in life." "That's garbage, Dad. She believes that old creep and his money will complete her life. She tried to convince me he'll be a great stepdad, promising me a new car and paying off my college loans. I told her to stick that car where the sun don't shine." I had to chuckle. Thank goodness my daughter saw through it. I assured her and we chatted, lifting my spirits. She pledged her support and vowed to steer clear of the sugar daddy. After a few beers, I drifted off to sleep on the couch, but my night was troubled by several unsettling dreams, one of which took place in a mall. In the dream, I stumbled upon Carrie performing mouth lovemaking on Ben in a women's dressing room. She glanced up, laughed, and continued, despite Ben's notably short member measuring merely 2 inches. The next morning, my old college roommate Jerry called and greeted me, mentioning that we had stayed in touch over the years. He reminded me that he works for the FBI's fraud division and had served as my best man at our wedding, remaining one of my closest friends. It had been a couple of months since our last conversation. I responded to Jerry's greeting, asking how he had been. He replied that he had been pretty good and inquired about my well-being. I admitted that things weren't going so great, explaining that Carrie had left me the day before and was seeking a divorce, which was why I was reaching out. Jerry expressed urgency in needing to see me as he was in town, offering to come quickly if it was okay with me. I questioned Jerry about how he could have known about Carrie leaving me, to which he replied that he didn't actually know. However, he had some information to share that he believed would interest me. Agreeing to meet shortly, I pondered what Jerry could possibly know about my situation. It all seemed increasingly bizarre. Though thoughts of revenge hadn't crossed my mind, I had a sinking feeling they were imminent. Jerry arrived about 30 minutes later, and I offered him a cup of coffee as we settled on my back deck on that lovely morning. Jerry remarked on the peaceful and beautiful surroundings before expressing his regret about the end of my marriage. Though I shared everything with him, he didn't seem surprised. "Jerry, it seems like you already knew about Carrie and Ben," I remarked. "Shane, what I'm about to tell you stays between us," Jerry cautioned. "I shouldn't be telling you this, but as your friend, I feel obligated. We never had this conversation, and you can't share it with anyone." "Of course, Jerry. This sounds more serious than just a marital issue," I replied. "It is, Shane. It's also official business on my part. I'm involved in an operation concerning Benjamin Brockman. We suspect he's been committing fraud with government contracts, potentially defrauding the U.S. government of millions. If proven, he's in serious trouble. We've been undercover, gathering evidence for several months. Another couple of months, and I think we'll have all the evidence we need to bring him to justice." "Wow, Jerry, this is fantastic. I despise that idiot. I'd do anything to see him brought down. It would serve Carrie right. And how could she be so foolish? Leaving you for that idiot was a dumb move on her part. Plus, since Carrie is his executive secretary, she's become a person of interest in this investigation." "Holy crap. Jerry, is Carrie implicated in this fraud?" "We don't believe so. We haven't found any evidence indicating she's aware of his crimes. However, she'll become entangled eventually. When everything unravels, she'll be in for a rude awakening. She believes she's gaining a wealthy new husband and will live happily ever after. During our surveillance, we uncovered Carrie's affair with Ben. I was waiting until I had solid proof. Then I planned to inform you, Shane. I suppose her lust for wealth led her to betray you." Jerry opened his briefcase and produced a large envelope. Tossing it to me, he said, "Here's plenty of evidence of their affair if you want to use it in your divorce. If anyone asks, you didn't get this from me." I opened the envelope. Inside were 8 X10 photos, emails, and several explicit videos clearly showing them having lovemaking, accompanied by dates and times. It was difficult to look at and stirred up my emotions once again. I maintained my composure and thanked Jerry for his efforts. Interestingly, in the close-ups of her face during lovemaking, Carrie didn't seem to be enjoying it at all. There was a lot of faking on her part. I know how she acts when pleased, and I never saw her behave like that during our lovemaking. Another ironic detail. Ben did indeed have a small male organ. Jerry mentioned he had to return to work. He informed me that he would be in town for a few more days, but anticipated D-Day with Brockman to be imminent. "Jerry, how about we grab dinner tomorrow night? It's on me for all you've done for me in this mess." "Sounds great, Shane. My sister Ashley is coming tomorrow. Would it be all right if she joined us?" "Absolutely. I haven't seen her since she was 13 in braces. She's 36 now and quite stunning, I hear." Ironically, her divorce was finalized today. Seems she returned home early from a business trip and caught her husband in bed with his secretary. We might have something to discuss then. She's a partner at a corporate law firm, and she's here to open a new office for them. Perhaps she could assist you in finding a good divorce attorney. I'll definitely ask her about that. See you tomorrow. I met Jerry and Ashley at a local Mexican restaurant the following evening. Jerry's sister was indeed stunning, as he had described. She greeted me warmly with a hug and a kiss on the cheek. I teased her about her transformation from the little 13-year-old with braces and pigtails, to which she giggled and responded that she had grown up and become a woman. Reflecting on the past, I acknowledged teasing her about her braces and admitted that she had turned out to be one of the most beautiful women I had ever met. During dinner, Ashley and I discussed my situation, as Jerry had briefed her on the details. We agreed to keep it confidential due to the ongoing investigation. Jerry mentioned I could release the photos and videos, claiming they were obtained by a private investigator. I informed them of Carrie's plan to file for divorce upon her return from Paris, citing irreconcilable differences. "Crap," Ashley interjected. "You need to take the offensive. I know an excellent family lawyer who specializes in infidelity divorces. She took my ex-husband to the cleaners. I have her card in my hotel room. We can grab it later and get started on Monday so you can serve Carrie when she returns from Paris." Things were moving quickly, but I was impressed with Ashley's assertiveness and wondered if she'd be interested in going out with me. Towards the end of dinner, Jerry received a call and had to leave. He offered to cover the bill, but I insisted it was my treat. Ashley and I finished our margaritas and prepared to leave. She suggested going dancing since the night was still young. I agreed that there was a place nearby. We spent the next 2 hours dancing, drinking beer, and thoroughly enjoying each other's company. To say we hit it off would be an understatement. We seemed incredibly compatible. I felt relaxed and content in her arms. Afterward, we returned to the restaurant to retrieve her car. She asked me to follow her to her hotel so she could give me the lawyer's card. Once in her room, she handed me the card and instructed me to call her friend's cell phone the next day, suggesting a meeting on Monday. She assured me that she would also inform her friend in advance, expressing confidence that her friend would be accommodating since they were close. Expressing gratitude, I asked how I could ever repay her. She responded by throwing her arms around me and kissing me passionately. We both engaged in the kiss and then moved to the bed, where we continued to passionately make out for a few minutes until we both needed to come up for air. During the pause, I expressed my desire to kiss her since I first saw her, to which she reciprocated, complimenting me on my looks and handsomeness. We continued kissing passionately, and our hands began to explore each other. She touched me through my jeans, and I felt incredibly aroused. As my hand slipped under her blouse, I suggested that we should take it slow, expressing concern about taking advantage of her in her vulnerable state after her recent divorce. She responded, asserting her independence as a grown woman and stating that she knew what she wanted. She admitted being deeply attracted to me and hoped that I felt the same, implying that she might be the one taking advantage of me. She recounted her initial reaction to discovering her husband's affair, admitting that she initially blamed herself and questioned if she was lacking in some way. However, she eventually came to the realization that it wasn't her fault, recognizing her own attributes of youth, attractiveness, and confidence. She expressed hope that I didn't blame myself for Carrie leaving, as she initially did in her own situation. She shared her thoughts from the previous night, where she had wondered if she had caused everything, questioning if she was a bad husband who couldn't fulfill all of his wife's needs. However, after spending time with me that night, she concluded that it wasn't her fault. He mentioned that he had been a good father, husband, and lover, providing everything he could. They kissed some more, but mostly just cuddled on the bed, finding comfort in each other's presence. The next morning, they woke up in each other's arms. He invited her to lunch at his house and suggested they go horseback riding, which she enjoyed. Later, they ended up on the couch, where things heated up again, but it remained only a heavy makeout session. He mentioned that they decided to continue seeing each other and see where it leads. He took Monday off and met with Julia, the attorney recommended by Ashley. He recounted his story and presented all the evidence he had. Julia appeared disgusted with his wife's behavior and attitude, which didn't surprise him given her 30 years of experience as a lawyer. She proposed filing for divorce based on infidelity and abandonment, seeking ownership of the house, ranch, and assets. They had $10,000 in savings, which they would split. I would retain all the money in our checking account. Ashley was already paying her car payment, and her credit card was in her name, so she would keep them in her name. I covered her car and health insurance. Julia advised me to cancel both as soon as possible. Any credit cards in both our names would be canceled. Julia pretty much covered all my bases. She said we would only use the explicit photos and videos if necessary. Julia wanted to know when Carrie would be back from Paris. I told her it was supposed to be Thursday morning. I provided Julia with the address Carrie had left me in case of any mail forwarding. Julia said she would serve her Thursday morning. She may not like the infidelity part, but I think she will agree to everything else. She seems satisfied with her new financial situation and eager for a quick divorce, so she can marry Mr. Brockman. Julia proposed informing Carrie that she would modify the infidelity section of the divorce papers if she signed them as they were. I responded affirmatively, expressing the desire for Carrie to acknowledge her infidelity. Around 10:30 a.m. on Thursday morning, my cell phone rang, and since I didn't have a class, I answered it. It was Carrie, sounding upset, questioning why she had received divorce papers, as we had agreed that I would file for divorce. I explained to Carrie that I hadn't agreed to anything and that I was simply trying to expedite meeting her wishes. She questioned the content of the divorce papers, particularly the mention of infidelity and abandonment, which I suggested changing to irreconcilable differences. Carrie reiterated that she hadn't agreed to anything and proposed that I accept the settlement, indicating that I would soon be a wealthy man's wife. She offered to modify the infidelity and abandonment grounds to irreconcilable differences if I signed the settlement as it was. I informed Julia that Carrie wanted the revised copy, which she would have Ben's lawyer review. If he approved, Carrie would sign. After briefing Julia on my conversation with Carrie, Julia had the updated papers ready to send over, as she had anticipated. Julia mentioned that she knew Ben's lawyer, describing him as a corporate attorney with no experience in divorce, predicting that he would likely advise Carrie to sign without much consideration. True to Julia's prediction, Carrie signed the papers, and they were returned to Julia's office by Friday afternoon. I stopped by and signed them on my way home from work. The divorce would be finalized in 60 days. I called Ashley, and we arranged to meet for dinner near her new office. We had a pleasant dinner and talked for about 2 hours. Ashley sensed that I needed to discuss everything, and indeed I did. We decided to refrain from any cozy activities that night and save them for Saturday night instead. Later that night, Carrie called and expressed concern about my well-being. She informed me that she no longer had the right to use terms of endearment with me. I was firm in stating that I would survive despite the pain she had caused me, emphasizing that she had hurt me deeply. However, I also conveyed that it didn't matter anymore as she had achieved what she wanted, and unfortunately, I was no longer what she desired. Carrie expressed remorse, saying she didn't mean to hurt me and that she still loved me very much. I responded dismissively, informing her that in the settlement, I would be canceling her car and health insurance, waiting until next Friday for her to arrange coverage. She thanked me and assured me that Ben would take care of everything. I clarified that I wasn't worried, I was just letting her know. As our conversation neared its end, Carrie bid goodbye, expressing hope that I wouldn't think she's a terrible person for her actions. She stated that she had to do what she had to do and reiterated her love for me. At this point, I began to feel emotional. I was sure Carrie could sense my final words, expressing my farewell and wishing her a nice life with her new man. I ended the call before she could say anything else. It was time to embark on my own new life, and I had intentions for Ashley to play a significant role in it. Ashley arrived at my house on Saturday night at 6 o'clock. She looked stunning and alluring. Let me paint you a picture. She stands at about 5 feet 9 inches, with long blonde hair, shapely legs, and the most perfect curves I've ever seen. She looked like a goddess incarnate. Her full, shapely lips begged to be kissed. She wore a cute little red dress that accentuated her figure, revealing some cleavage. My excitement was already evident, straining against my jeans. We enjoyed a lovely dinner on my deck overlooking the ranch, accompanied by plenty of wine. We dined, drank, flirted, and conversed for about 2 hours. Finally, she looked at me and conveyed that if I didn't take her to bed soon, she would explode, referring to me as cowboy. I literally swept her off her feet and carried her to my bedroom. We wasted no time undressing and indulging in each other's company. Over the next few weeks, Ashley and I spent a considerable amount of time together. I proposed that she move in, but she preferred to wait until after my divorce was finalized. Nonetheless, she often spent nights in my bed. About 5 days before my divorce was official, Jerry called me. He informed me that they were on the verge of taking action against Brockman and his business. Everything Brockman owned would be seized, as they had amassed substantial evidence and witnesses against him. What about Carrie? I inquired. She'll be questioned, but it seems she's in the clear. However, she'll be losing her financial support. She's in for a rough ride, Shane. That's her problem, I guess. Shane, I want you to know that my sister is thrilled with your relationship. She was devastated after her divorce. Is there a chance you might become my brother-in-law someday? I hope so, Jerry. It depends on whether she wants me to. I can tell you, though, that I've fallen in love with your sister. She loves you too, Shane. I'll keep you posted on the Brockman situation. I wouldn't be surprised if Carrie reaches out to you. It was Friday, and I was eagerly anticipating spending the weekend with Ashley. It also marked the day my marriage to Carrie officially ended. On my way home from work, I stopped at a convenience store for some beer for the weekend. What happened next could be called fate, luck, or justice, but it was certainly peculiar. Carrie called me. She wanted to meet. I agreed to lunch. I invited Ashley, but she declined, knowing the purpose of the meeting and trusting me to handle it. I had taken the entire week off from work, planning to resign once they found a replacement. Additionally, we were busy moving Ashley into my place. Carrie and I met at a nice downtown restaurant, per my suggestion. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw her. She had gained weight and frankly didn't look good. The past few days must have been overwhelming for her. It had been widely covered in the news, with her name mentioned frequently. There were even reports suggesting she was Brockman's mistress. I noticed people staring and pointing as she entered. Opting for an open area outside, we found a table away from prying eyes to have our conversation. Initially, we engaged in small talk, but it wasn't long before she broke down in tears. "Shane, leaving you was the biggest mistake of my life," she confessed. "I'm not saying this just because Ben got arrested. I realized it a few weeks after moving in with him. Initially, it seemed exciting, but the allure of money faded quickly. I was miserable, and I felt sick every time I had to be cozy with him." "I didn't expect this," Carrie continued. "I thought money was all that mattered when I left you. I've also been overwhelmed with guilt for what I've done to you and Casey. Casey barely speaks to me anymore. You didn't deserve that, Shane. You were a good husband and provider. I had everything I needed. I just didn't see it." "Thank you, Carrie. I appreciate your honesty," I replied. "But you made the choices you did because you weren't completely happy with me." "I was happy with you, Shane," she insisted. "I let that old goat manipulate me. He seduced me, convinced me to leave you for him and his money. The night before his arrest, he forced himself on me. He's a disgusting, perverted old man. I hope he rots in jail." Despite wanting to laugh, I refrained. "Where is this leading, Carrie? What do you want from me?" I asked. Tears welled up in her eyes as she pleaded, "Please take me back, Shane. I love you and miss you terribly. I miss our home, the ranch, the horses, and everything we shared. I'll do anything to make it right." "Carrie, do you truly miss me? Or is this because you have no money, home, or job?" I inquired. "I'm broke, Shane, with nowhere to go," she confessed. "But I miss you terribly. I want things to go back to how they were. Carrie, when you left, I made it clear it was final. There's no turning back," I reiterated. "Your departure was permanent." "I understand, Shane, but I need you desperately. I'm at my wit's end. You're my last hope." "I'm sorry, Carrie. I've moved on and found love with someone else. We'll marry eventually, but we're not rushing things due to our past experiences with our spouses," I explained. Carrie looked devastated, tears streaming down her face. It seemed she hadn't considered the possibility of me moving on. She sat there sobbing, and I couldn't help but feel sorry for her. "I once contemplated revenge when you left, but now I want to help," I said. "Is there anything I can do to assist you?" Carrie looked up and requested, "I suppose I was naive to hope you'd take me back. I don't blame you. I wouldn't take me back either. If you could lend me $5,000 until I find a job and a place of my own. I'm staying with a friend, but I need my own place." "How much do you need, Carrie?" I asked. "If you could loan me $5,000, I'll start paying you back once I find employment," she replied. As the waiter brought our food, Carrie began eating, but my appetite had waned. Observing her, I pulled out my checkbook and wrote a check. Handing it to her folded, I said, "Carrie, this should help you start anew. You're a skilled secretary. You'll find a job. If not, let me know, and I'll see what I can do. I regret how things unfolded. My dream was to grow old with you, holding hands as Casey said her wedding vows, watching our grandkids take their first horseback ride, and being buried beside you on a ranch. It seems fate had other plans." With that, I rose from the table and left the restaurant. Placing a $100 bill to cover the bill and tip, I stole a glance back as she opened the check. Her expression shifted to disbelief as she looked up, finding me already gone. I had left her a check with a pointed message. Smirking, I departed. She observed from the deck as I drove away. Afterward, Ashley moved in, and we tied the knot the following spring. Jerry served as my best man, and Casey assumed the role of maid of honor, having become close friends. The wedding occurred in Vegas at Caesar's Palace, with a select group of friends and family in attendance. The reception was held in our honeymoon suite, creating a memorable affair for everyone. I struck it lucky, winning over $200,000 on a progressive slot machine, showcasing my knack for accumulating money through gambling. Carrie wasn't part of the festivities, but she got wind of the news through the local paper. Eventually, she found a job and a place to live, though she never reimbursed the loan, which I didn't anticipate. Rumor has it she's now dating a high school English teacher, and I hope it brings her happiness. Meanwhile, Ben Brockman faced trial and was convicted of federal crimes. All his assets were seized to repay the government, and he'll be spending a considerable time behind bars. Perhaps he'll find companionship more suited to his taste there.